Hello, everyone. There's some horrible news. It's just now breaking. It's August 4th, 2019 at 3:52 a.m. At least 10 reportedly dead in the Oregon District. The incident occurred in the Oregon District on early Sunday outside the Ned Pepper's bar. At the moment, there's no official information about the casualties. According to WHIO, up to 10 people have been killed in the city of Dayton, Ohio, and 10 wounded due to the shooting. The suspect has reportedly been neutralized by the police, who are now searching the area for any additional shooting victims. Medics who arrived at the scene are now directing walking wounded to Grandview and Kettering hospitals, Dayton News reported. One Twitter user says, there was an active shooter in the bar I was in tonight. I'm told that he had an AR-15. She says that she and her friend are okay. I'm so incredibly heartbroken for those affected by this. I've never been so scared in my life. Some reports suggest there may have been more than one shooter involved in the attack, adding that the police are shooting for a man wearing a mask who may have left the area in a dark-colored Jeep. Someone else on Twitter posted, people down in the Oregon District, 2 crying eyes emojis and 2 hearts. Why the fuck is this happening so close to home? And the picture is showing bodies on the ground covered by white sheets. The Ned Pepper's bar has posted on Instagram that all their staff is safe. And then the El Paso tragedy happened yesterday. The carnage in Ohio comes mere hours after a young man killed 20 people and injured at least 26 others at a Walmart in Cielo Vista Mall in El Paso, Texas. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, has opened a domestic terrorism investigation into the incident, which, according to police, may have been classified as capital murder and a hate crime targeting Hispanic people. Thanks, Trump. The shooter reportedly posted a manifesto online before assaulting people inside Walmart, describing a detailed plan to separate the U.S. into territories by race. Oh my God. That is exactly what I have been saying. That thought came to me, and I've been saying that. And this whole story and the whole thing, it's for me, it's like it takes the wind out the breath out of me, and I do think that we should give it a try. I think it should be voluntary, of course. We're not going to do the whole Japanese internment camp. But one lady told me several years ago, she's white, and she was working with some indigenous folks, and she said that there, at when at dusk or whatever, when the sun goes down, she had to get out of town because they were not for any of that gentrification, and I think that that's what we need to try. And I'm saying not all people are the same. Not all Black people are the same. Because people are Black, that doesn't mean that we come from the same background, for example. But I think so many of us, I can only speak for me as a Black person, experience what we experience in life, that it's like, I think the whole integration, no one knew what it would look like or what would happen. But as we're seeing, it ain't going well. I'd like to be in a place where if I saw a Black man, I would like to think that I had a chance to maybe, have a relationship with him instead of having him only be attracted to white chicks. I was kind of bought like a Cabbage Patch doll and raised in an interracial family. And so when I got older and I would go to the hairdresser and everyone was Black, I would just look around and I would say, wow, everybody's Black here. Everybody's Black. I just didn't have that. And I know now that some Black families, they put their children, intentionally in like kind of like a prep school, where there's all black people, so that the child can see him or herself and in a positive light. Now I know this is kind of maybe off kilter due to, this horrible tragedy of shootings. But another thing that I've said, and we all, with the whole law of attraction and metaphysics and words have power. I have said, I'd rather be shot in the back at 2 a.m. in Dayton than, and you see what, I'm not saying I caused it, but that's what I've said. I'd rather be shot at 2 in the back in Dayton at a club dancing than to be in my home locked up, peeking out the window because I'm so scared. I ain't scared of nothing. I've been through a lot. And I also, when this pops up, I wonder like if other people had this thought, because I think, well, it should have been me, because I have no husband, no boyfriend, not very many friends who I could call on, like if I needed something. You know, when I did need something, I just moved. I had no food in my cabinet and refrigerator, none. And I called Becky, and she said something like, well, do you need it now? I've been going, I don't know, whether a week or two, whatever. My friend, my good friend who moved here, also, I've been going to her house and she's been helping feed me, and we're all in the same boat. I mean, at least she had food though. And I know I could stand to lose, about 100 pounds, but it's the being forced to, that's what's kind of just difficult. And also, I've had before my doctors, they did blood tests and they're like, your potassium is like critically low, So, and also, like, I had money, I just didn't have any way to get to the store. So, okay, the evening went on and went on, and then I'm calling because it's late. And Becky said, well, I called, but you didn't answer. So Becky was at home. And that ended my relationship with Becky. I'm not like everybody else. When I need something, I need it. And if you can't do, it may seem that that's spoiled. No, it's not. It's I was literally starving. I know that people say all the time, I was not to eat, not to eat. No, I had nothing, nothing, zero. But that switched. I've had someone help me. I reached out to the community, went to the food bank. Now I really have like too much, sort of. But I'm sharing that. That's the thing. I'm sharing it with people. And, I don't know, maybe you guys have now, I don't know, maybe this has gone far left of field of what this shooting situation is, but it all ties in because it's like, do you know your neighbor? Are you afraid of your neighbor? Would you help your neighbor? Where I am now, I'm feeling more at home. I had a thing where I accidentally left a pot of rice on while I took my doggy to the dog park. And when I came back, I noticed like one of my windows was open, and I just thought, that's weird. I don't leave, the windows open. And so the next morning, people were telling me that my apartment was filled with smoke. Everybody had to evacuate. My one little neighbor, 16-year-old, came in, crawled on the floor, got my cat out, and had my cat outside. And my friend was saying on the other floor that people were knocking on their door asking for me. And she's like, how do they know that you come in here? So if there can be anything positive at the end of this, I would say act like you should act. Act like you have sense. Act like you love each other. Act like you want to live. The whole gun issue, I have a background of depression, anxiety, and I'm not going to say what other, but so I don't handle guns. I remember when I tried to get one, I thought about it, and we know why I was going to get it. So I stood in the pawn shop with this fellow. It's gorgeous. It's like really tall, maybe like 6'3", all muscles. And so we're looking at guns. I'm looking at guns. And I say to him, I stood there and he stood with me for like, seemed like half an hour. It probably was a half an hour standing. And I said, well, can you just tell me how to load it? And he's like, you should take a class, take a class. And I didn't say, I'm like, I just probably need to load it with like a couple of bullets. And I think I only need 2 bullets. And I sounded like supposedly the hijacker. She said, I don't need to learn how to land the plane. I just need to learn how to fly it and just get it up in the air. I don't need to land it, you know. So um, my sympathies for all of the people the families of the people and the people who were killed tonight in Dayton and in El Paso and everywhere. Now, as we're seeing, now is the time when you make your decision what you're going to do with your life and where you're going to concentrate your energy. It's a human right to have shelter, food, I want to say entertainment. you know, um, I don't remember where I heard this or what, but I'm thinking also of South Africa and the whole. We're talking about the Arthur Pretorius and um, Nina. I forget her name, but his girlfriend that he shot. Well, Arthur lived in a gated community. Why? Because there's a lot of crime. Because the haves have and the have-nots don't, and they're coming after the people who have. There is so much money just already here, already around, unlimited abundance. You just have to choose where you're going to put your energy. I mean, it kills me to see homeless people, and I felt that I may be one of them. And so when I see someone, I have compassion. I don't think, what did they do to be in that situation? I try not to think that. I just try to help, and maybe that's part of why I'm here. As I said, I don't have family. The woman who adopted me doesn't call me, doesn't talk to me. Haven't talked to her in maybe 3 years. I was looking at a card I have. I'm actually looking at the card right now. That was dated 2015, so it's 2019. She wrote my name really pretty. And to be honest, I hope that she is wondering if I'm among one of the dead. And her son lives with her. This is an amazing story, too, this morning. I was at McDonald's. The McDonald's is within walking distance here. And so I was just doing my thing, talking to people, eating a little bit. And I look up, and there's 2 booths in the front window. Right in that booth and facing me was a guy, man, very nice man. My father taught him his trade, his job. So he would call. I was like 7 years old, and I'd say, wow. And so he'd call, to talk to my dad. So I've known that man since I was like 7 years old, and we just had a wonderful talk. He's wonderful, positive, happy, just positive. And we both just talked about, our situation. He told me too that he was traveling and he was on an airplane and he saw um, the son of the woman who adopted me on the plane because he works as I'm going to call it a stewardess. And he said it was just so funny because the son, recognized me. He's like, you don't know who I am? So then, that was just, they had that exchange. So at least that's, to me, the fact that happened like that, it's the synchronicity of it is just really astounding because it's the universe and like God and the source, things coming together. So I don't know what my next move will be, should be. I'm thinking that I should write down the atrocities, that I've had inflicted upon myself and just maybe give it to them, not personally in the mail, and give them their inheritance of $6.66 in pennies. Because there's so much trauma. And when I think about it, I mean, I don't sit around moping about it. I don't mope about it, but I've been talking about it. I'm talking about it to get it out. Like in the movie Amazing Grace, about William Wilberforce. His girlfriend or one friend, she was saying, something about the poison, poison in your mouth. You have to spit it out. And that's it. And I think also with Black folks here, the stuff that we deal with, we just keep swallowing and swallowing the racism and the poison, and it infects everything, and it infects us and is killing us. So you've got to spit it out somehow. So my writing is going to be how I spit it out. And if you've watched this video so far, thank you. Again, there was a shooting in Dayton in the Oregon district, 10 dead and 10 wounded. And I personally, the way I deal with things, or I get very calm, very centered. I'm not scared. Whatever my fate is my fate. And if I could trade in places with one of those people who had, children and loved ones, and I would gladly do it. But I actually thought about going there. That's just like around the corner, really, literally around the corner from where I usually go. So just have faith, decide what you want to do with your life. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Okay, you said people are scared in El Salvador, which has the strictest gun laws. Venezuela too. When nobody has guns except criminals, that's what happens. Yes, and even if we outlawed sea and surf, are you still here? I always do this when someone's in my room. I don't see them. And thank you for the thumbs up. If you gave me a thumbs up, I think even if we outlawed guns, I think there's like more guns than people in the U.S. And also, like, we love guns. We just absolutely love guns. I don't have a gun because I suffer from depression, and I know I'd probably blow my head off or someone else's. So I don't play around with that stuff. People who talk about, oh, okay, yeah. People who talk about guns, it's just, you know. So people in El Salvador, the criminals have the guns. Yeah, it can be. I mean, it can be scary, but you also just have to weigh your options. I actually, like, I saw weird stuff. I was leaving. What happened was I left too late. I didn't leave like right when the club closed, so it was just me by myself walking across the street, and these two guys are behind me, and they're like, "Oh, you're by yourself?" And I'm like, so I just keep walking, and then okay, so I go to my car, and they're following me, and I see my friend, and I say, "Catherine," and so they like quickly, kind of scurry to the side. Yeah, that's how I feel about guns, actually. But everybody had them. Like my father had them. The man that married my mother for the third time, he had them. Oh, here's the thing too. He he chased her out of the house at the end of a rifle. I was like 9 years old. And so I hear her saying, no, blah, 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 his name. She runs past me. I was like 9 years old. She runs past me, hops in the car, drives down the country road, and I'm there in the house with this nut and a gun. So that's a part of the reason, I guess, why I don't do guns. Now, I think if I were in the country or if I had acreage, then I may have a gun and I would have it locked. I would have it locked away. But so did you get that story? She left me in the house with a nut at the end of a rifle and drove away and left me. So, and what he would do to her is he would get out his gun and he would load it and he would like come after her with it. So he's done that several times. But anyway, after the first time that she did that and left me with him, I said, I'm going to go live with dad. So I lived with my dad from the age of like 9 until in like my late 20s. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out with this shooting what happened. My feeling is that it might somehow be connected, that there's some sort of, I think it is definitely like a terrorist move, an internal, domestic terrorism, because at 10 people, there's no way that that's like a fight, a fight between somebody bumped into somebody else and, so they got mad. But yeah, people just love guns here, really love them. I actually was looking at, we've got a Rural King where I am, and you can bring your dog in there, you can go in there, you can look at guns, and I think I will learn to shoot. Maybe I'll get a concealed carry. I don't know. I don't know if I would even be okay with the check, if I would pass the check. I think people have to decide either you're gonna like have guns or mess with guns or you're not. I mean, what are guns for? Yeah, right. Target practicing and hunting, you know. But I just sort of feel like the majority of the people who have guns, they have them because they want to kill somebody. And of course, yeah, you want to kill the person who breaks into your home, you know, but that's not what is happening with the guns. There was a case on like this court show on Friday where this guy had his dog tied up on a really long whatever chain or whatever. And so the dog got loose. He went in his neighbor's yard and the his tether got wrapped around some piece of machinery. And so this old man comes out and he shoots the dog in the head full of like pellets. Now the dog was already stuck. The dog couldn't attack him because he was stuck at the end of this, rope. But that old man shot that dog in the head. And the judges just said, okay, whatever, because the dog was vicious. I'm like, the dog was tied up. The dog couldn't go anywhere. That's another thing here, too. People have pit bulls where I live now. People have there's like 8 pit bulls or maybe more. It's kind of funny because my cat was outside by himself and I was on my balcony and this guy says, "Is that your cat?" I'm like, "Yeah, where is he?" And then he tells me that one of his pits was like licking my cat. And I thought, oh, that's so cute. So not all pits are bad. They're definitely not bad, but something can go wrong. And I think that's why a lot of people have pits because they want that protection, you know? And I totally understand that. I kind of want, or when I get to where I have more space or whatever, a bigger dog for protection. So what do you think about the shooting? Where are you from? My grandma had a gun, and my grandma was born in the 1800s because my father was born in 1925, and so grandma was born in the 1800s. I got to look this all up. And then grandma's mom, I don't know, was a slave, I think, in PA. Oh, and what just came up to me. So I lived in this other apartment building, and there's like a fence, a chain link fence, and then this other apartments. And there were like mostly young black people live there. And on the weekends and whatever, we'd hear the guns go off. And that was kind of disheartening. And I said, well, I hope they're shooting this way because my apartment is this way. So just keep the bullets going this way. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody knows. But I yeah, I feel like it's going to be um, maybe a copycat or like just domestic terrorism. And I don't know when people are going to I know people are going to talk about gun control, really gun control has nothing to do with it because we've got so many guns in the US. I mean, I know that I could go outside of my door and maybe it might take 20 minutes to get a gun or less than that, you know. I think we have to decide whether we're going to be for peace and war. Like you can't be, I mean, you can't, it's kind of hard to have both. I love Marianne Williamson. I happened to go to a Center for Spiritual Living. I went to the one in Columbus and they're reading one of her books. I cannot remember the name of it. I cannot remember the name of it. But, and they knew at that time that she was running for president. I didn't know. I mean, they told me, and I didn't know much about her. But every time I hear her speak, I'm just in love with the woman. I believe in the principles that she believes in. And I also said this too. I said, I wish that somebody would run for president who is of our religious background. My refrigerator makes a noise like 3 times a day, and the dog always runs out there to bark, which is crazy. There's a book called The True Face of God, and it talks about how in the future, which I think is now, people aren't going to have to work so that they can pay to live where they live or for food. People will work for the joy of working, you know, or to do what they want to do. And I think we're at that point. And because let's say Sally next door gets something, that's Sally's and that was meant for her. It's not taking anything from you. Yeah, I think that is nice. And I kind of have that now, that time. It's just really strange. I think also in certain areas that it's good to remember that some people are used to like having lots of guns around and hearing gunshots and just dealing with that. When I was really young, like in high school, I went over to this. Somehow we were at some guy's house apartment, and he just had like bullets on the table. And where we're from, it's like we're from like higher income sort of place, and we just didn't see like bullets out on the table like that. And I'm like, let's go, you know, let's leave because whatever's going on, we don't want any part of it. Yeah. But oh, and that story, what I left off when I was getting in the parking lot. So these 2 guys, they kind of like bumped into these other guys. So the guy went and he put his hand like in the front of his like pants like this, which like meant that I had a gun, which meant that, you know, I've got a gun. So what I did was I got in my car and I actually called the police. And but before I did that, okay, so I turned and I'm at a stoplight, and guess who pulls up right next to me? Yeah, those guys. And I said, hey. And they're like, hey. And I say, I'm going to this club. And I say the name of the club where it was. So I said, I'll see you there. So then I go and I like call the police and I tell them, you know, I'm like, yeah, I think they got a gun and they're going to such and such club. So I just don't know. And I think too, like, um, I don't know. Like I say, I'm with you too. I don't know. So who are you, Sauce Kite? Do you know me, Sauce Kite? Okay. You said snakes. Why'd you say snakes? And thanks for coming in. I usually don't have people come in. Or when they do, like I'm looking at another page on my computer and I don't see them. Pepsi. It is a beautiful cup. What do you mean? I've probably seen people. I love Pepsi. I love Pepsi so much. Oh, I thought up a new self defense. It's dancing, but you like, you know, bam, or you go bam behind, Actually, oh, and my father has this, he gave me this. Well, I'm not sure that he gave it to me, but when he died, I had everything that he had. So it's a knife and it's got blade on each end, you know? But when I was in school, everybody had a pocket knife. Like, in case you wanted to whittle a little bit, whittle on a wooden stick. Like you can't legislate, what do you call it? Common sense. Just because somebody has a knife, that doesn't mean that they're going to use it to kill somebody. Oh, really? Is there something on YouTube live about the stuff in Dayton? I haven't even looked. I just thought that I would come on and post something. I think also it helps to not be afraid. You just have to make the decision to not be afraid. Like, of course. Okay, yeah, I see it. I see it.
Had a long gun, started shooting at people. The police and the city have set up a convention center, a place where people can gather. If you're looking for information about victims or if you have information about the shooting, if you witnessed, you can go there. There's a dedicated phone line you can call. It is 225 6217 225 6217 if you need information about, and we've got that on our screen now. This is the number that you can call if you think you may have known someone down there, if you're curious about who, or if you want to know about a loved one. Don't just call there if you're just curious, but call there if you have information or if you want to find out about somebody on scene. The FBI is on scene. Multiple jurisdictions responded to this. Again, the Oregon District, a very popular part of Dayton and a very successful part and a very safe area of Dayton. Very little crime there.
Until now.
And of course, it's extremely unusual. 21 medic units were on scene. Police are still trying to identify a motive. Of course, it's very early in this investigation. They're trying to determine if there wasn't a second shooter, but right now they know of one shooter who is deceased. Words like tragic evening, horrific incident. Came out, but we also know that Dayton police officers train regularly for active shooters. Ever since Columbine shooting in Colorado in 1999, the training changed. You don't wait for SWAT. The officers on scene take down whoever's doing the shooting. And final words from Chief Carper. He says, as bad as this is, it could have been much, much worse. Newscutter 7's Molly Koick is live downtown now. Molly, where are you and what can you tell us about what you're seeing there?
So right now we are on the backside of Ned Pepper's. You can see it here. Police right now have it roped off with police tape. You've got some police vehicles here. And then sort of in this area all over, there are these little yellow markers where they're marking evidence. That one is number 17. We saw one number 20. There's one right over here as well. So there's certainly a lot of evidence that we're working to process at this time. There are also some people right now who are waiting in the parking lot right behind Ned Pepper's in this general scene of things. We have not been able to speak with police on this side about exactly what it is that they're looking for right here, but we are working to get any information that we can. Again, this area is just roped off right now with police tape. There are police officers out here investigating, making sure that this scene is safe. If we head right down this street, there's another road right here that's blocked off with police tape, flashing lights and officers investigating, trying to figure out exactly what is going on. And we're working to do the exact same thing right now. Live in Dayton, Molly Koick.
Molly, before you go, can you tell me again where you are in relation to the Oregon District?
Yeah, so we are right on the backside of Ned Pepper. So you have Fifth Street right over there, and right now we are on Gate Street.
Okay, so you're behind Ned Pepper's, and
Yes.
again, Ned Pepper's a popular bar. I know you have only lived in the city a few months, but I'm sure you've been to the Oregon District. Everyone goes there.
Everyone comes down to this area. It was one of the first places I went, being a young person and being in the city. So immediately when I got the call to come in, I just thought it is pure luck that I was not down there tonight.
Yeah.
I had other plans, and there are so many young people who come down here every single weekend. It was a beautiful night. There are so many places here with outdoor seating to be outside and just enjoy the evening tonight. And then, of course, it ended in tragedy.
And that's what we're hearing, that all the shooting occurred outside in the 400 block of East Fifth Street. We were hearing Ned Pepper's mentioned, but this actually all happened outside as people were probably walking around innocently, enjoying their evening. Probably, the bars are usually open till 2:30, so anyone who's out past 1, not that late for a lot of young people. And here we have this terrible tragedy unfolding with someone with a long gun opening fire, killing 9 that we know of so far. 9 dead are confirmed by Dayton police, and we're hearing another 16 injured. We don't know their conditions. We still obviously have to get a lot of information. I know police are going to tell us more later today. So what is your next step here, Molly? What are you going to be doing in the next few minutes?
Right. So right now I'm going to be working to talk to police perhaps on this side, but I know they're very busy. There are also some people right over here in this parking lot. I'm going to see if they knew anything, if they saw anything, if perhaps they were, witnesses to exactly what happened, and make sure they're okay. And then see if there's anything that they can tell us that we can then relay to everybody who's watching.
All right. Well, come back to us if you talk to some witnesses who were there and who maybe can shed some light on exactly what happened. Again, police tell us it was a very short timeline of violence because police officers were already on patrol in the Oregon District, again, a very safe part of the city. But police are there because there are large numbers of people, especially on a beautiful Saturday night in the summertime. So, Molly, we'll get back to you a little bit. Thank you for that report. Again, recapping, if you're just joining us, yes, 4:30 in the morning. And we hate to wake people up with this terrible news of an active shooter situation in the city of Dayton, in the Oregon District this morning. It started just after 1 o'clock. Someone opened fire, and a person with a long gun. We know nothing about this person other than he is dead. Dayton police were on scene and were close by and were able to respond and shoot right away, as they are trained to do, and take that person down. But before that person was shot and killed, he managed to kill 9 people in Dayton's Oregon District this morning, and 16 others are being treated at hospitals. And there is a place set up at the Dayton Convention Center where you can go if you believe a loved one may have been one of the victims, if you need information, or if you need to call. The number on your screen you can call. This is a dedicated line for this active shooter situation in Dayton. This is where you can call to give information if you have pertinent information about what happened in the Oregon District in the last 3 hours. You can call this number, 937-225-6217. If you want to ask questions, perhaps about a loved one, maybe someone you know went to the Oregon District this morning and you've not heard from them, not been able to reach them, and you need to know if they were perhaps a victim in this, or maybe they're somewhere else, maybe they're giving witness statements, you can call this number to get that information. This is just such a tragedy, something that we just never want to report. And again, it comes on the heels of a mass shooting yesterday in El Paso, Texas. Again, I'm going to recap what we know. Dayton Police and the Dayton Fire Department just had a news conference with us, with the media, and talked about this active shooter situation. Broke out just after 1 a.m. in the 400 block of East 5th Street in Dayton. A person with a long gun opened fire on people outside, not inside any particular bar or establishment, started shooting at people, killing 9, injuring 16. Police were on patrol nearby, as they normally are on a Saturday night, and were able to shoot the shooter, and that person is deceased. Multiple jurisdictions responded. The FBI is on scene to assist. We know that Dayton police are trained in active shooter all of them are trained to respond immediately to a situation like this. There are members of the Dayton Police Department who travel the nation and teach officers in other departments how to respond to active shooter situations. So I can tell you that they are very, very well trained. Again, the Oregon District, one of the highlights of the city of Dayton, even during the difficult years for the city in the last 40 years, the Oregon District has been a mainstay. It's always been a popular place to go. Bars, great restaurants, just a lot of things for people to do. The annual Halloween party where people dress up and go down on usually on a Saturday night, and it's very safe. The streets are blocked off. Police are there too to keep the peace. But very, very few issues, very little crime in the Oregon District, as busy as it is. The nearby Dublin Pub has the big St. Patty's Day party every year. It's right on the cusp of the Oregon District at 5th and Kiowee. So this has been just an extremely popular place, not just for people who live in Dayton, but from all over the area. And for something like this to happen, it's a cliche, but it's shocking. This is just shocking for the city of Dayton to have something so unusual happen on a beautiful Saturday night or any time in the Oregon District. Police are still trying to identify a motive. Perhaps we'll never know. They're going to talk to us again later today about what may have precipitated this shooting if they can get more information. They're currently very busy. They're interviewing witnesses. They're interviewing the officers who were first on scene, who responded, trying to determine if there was another shooter involved. Right now, all they know is there was one shooter involved. And I'm seeing Molly Coet show up now. And we sent her off to talk to some witnesses. She is behind Ned Peppers. She's behind some of the bars in the Oregon District on what would be the east side of the Oregon District. And Molly is standing by. I don't know if she's ready to go live yet, Molly. I see you nodding your head. Let's go to Molly Coek. And Molly, what have you learned in the last few minutes? Molly. Having trouble. Okay, we're having trouble getting Molly's audio, but we're going to go back to her just as soon as we can. Again, she's there. We've got reporters, photographers down in the Oregon District, even Amelia Robinson, who works for the Dayton Daily News, who lives in the Oregon District, was there quickly and talked about hearing gunfire from her house, ran over, saw a chaotic scene, people running, and realized that something terrible had happened. And indeed it has. Just after 1 o'clock this morning, a man with a long gun, I'm saying a man, I don't know how old this person is. We don't have any information about this person's identity, but a person with a long gun opened fire on people outside in the 400 block of East 5th Street in the Oregon District and began shooting at people. And right now it is confirmed that we have 9 people dead, 16 injured, and they're being treated at various hospitals. 21 medic units responded. Police from multiple jurisdictions responded. The FBI is there to assist. A massive law enforcement response to this terrible situation. The fortunate thing is that it was a short timeline of violence because of the proximity of the police officers who were on patrol. They were able to get there quickly and to shoot and kill the shooter, but not before. He took out 9 lives and injured 16 others. So we're trying to get more information about those people, their conditions. Of course, we're very concerned about, but the victims, their families, and we're efforting to get as much information for you as we can. Newsletter 7's Monica Castro has been there since shortly after this happened. Monica, can you hear me? And what's the latest? What can you tell us you've learned?
Well, we just obviously heard from police. They said that there was 10 people who died, including the gunman. At this point, they still don't have a motive for what caused that shooter to go out. But we do know that there were also 16 people that were hospitalized. I know when I was out here earlier, I spoke to a woman. I saw her just sit down, and you could tell she just very, very distraught. She sat there and kind of put her hands on her head, and she told me that actually one of the victims who is deceased was her cousin. So she said that they were actually coming down to Ned Peppers to hang out for a birthday party. They heard what happened, and obviously they were stopped all this caution tape that's out here, all the police presence that is out here. So looking at her, I mean, I got goosebumps just seeing how visibly shaken up, how visibly distraught she was. So we know from police, hearing from police, that gunman had a long gun that he was shooting into the crowd. And obviously, Cheryl, as you were mentioning, this is just a very popular place. So there's probably a lot of people just walking around. I know I've come down here before to have dinner. And so I just can't imagine how many people might have been out there who saw something. Obviously, police right now are still trying to talk to witnesses who may have seen or heard something. I know right now police are also trying to investigate what exactly that motive is. But like I heard you say, I mean, we may never know because that gunman is dead. For now, we're putting live Monica Castro.
Monica, and you talk about this woman who's distraught, obviously, over the loss of her cousin in this terrible shooting tonight. I'm wondering what kind of resources there are. I'm sure the priority for the medic units and for all the first responders is those who are injured and who need treatment and have hopefully been sent to hospitals for treatment now. But for those who witness this and are traumatized by it, do you know of any efforts to talk to those people and have them go somewhere and to be able to have some support, some emotional support? I'm sure it's early to comment on that.
Well, I can imagine. I know the police chief had mentioned opening up that convention center for resources, and that might be one of the resources that they have at the convention center. I know they also had a special number for people to call so that they could get reunited if maybe one of their family members, loved ones, was around here when that shoot place. So I can imagine that they have some resources at the convention center for people who also just witnessed some of this and might be traumatized from going through a shooting.
Right, and we keep showing that number on your screen, and we're going to keep showing it because it is 225-6217, 225-6217. That is a dedicated line for anyone who needs information about what happened in the Oregon District tonight. If you have a family member or someone that you love who was in the Oregon District tonight and you haven't been able, there's been a shooting situation where we have 9 people dead and 16 others injured. So Monica, I'm going to let you go and get more information. I see Molly Coick standing by, working now. Have a witness with her. Okay, she's not ready now. I'm going to recap then for those of you just joining. Where a person with a long gun went to the Oregon District and opened fire. Beautiful summer night. People were enjoying themselves. Again, a very popular part of downtown Dayton, the Oregon District. Really what Dayton over the years, over the last 4 decades. Very popular and safe. Dayton police officers were already on patrol. So when this person started shooting, police responded quickly and shot and killed the shooter. Not before he managed to kill 9 people. 16 others have been shot and are being treated. There's possibly another shooter, but police are still trying to determine that because they're still investigating what happened here. Could possibly be another suspect, but that is unconfirmed. They do know that they shot and killed the shooter as they are trained to do. So now the investigation continues, talking to witnesses, talking to people. This is literally swarming with law enforcement. Dayton police responded, other jurisdictions responded, the FBI is there, the Dayton Fire Department is there, 21 medic units responded to triage up there. Dayton Convention Center, which for those of you not familiar with Dayton, just a block to the north of the Oregon District, just on the other side where the parks find parking. For families, for anyone who needs information, you can call the number on your screen or you can go there. And Molly Coick is there now in the Oregon District. Well, now I think you have someone with you who can talk more about what they saw tonight. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm joined right now by Robert Woodruff. And Robert, you saw all of this happen. Describe that to me.
Terrifying. Like, I'm just start trying to kill everybody down here.
So you were just in the Oregon district, which you say it's not a place you come to very often. This happened right around 1 a.m. You were outside. Walk me through what happened step by step.
I just parked down behind Omega Records. And I started walking towards, I guess, east on 5th. And by the time I got to the middle of the Oregon, just gunshots, just loud gunshots just everywhere. You couldn't hear nothing but that. Everybody's just screaming and running, just trying to get away.
How close were
you? Within 5 to 10 feet. He was like, I was on one side of the car, and he was on the other side of the car, shooting at everybody. Like when we ran to the front of the car, he was shooting at us that way. We ran to the back of the car, he started shooting at us there until the officer came, shooting it out with the guy. And the officer saved all of us.
What was it like to be feet from him?
It's the most scariest feeling I ever had in my life. Like, I've never been that scared before.
Can you describe for us what he looked like?
I mean, you really couldn't see. He had a mask on, and he had his hood pulled up, and he had like some big earphones on, so you really couldn't.
Oh shit!
You couldn't see.
See, I told you.
A dark figure.
It's connected.
Yeah. And so you ran as fast as you could.
Exactly. Immediately, as soon as the gunshot started, I started running. Then the direction I was running, some guy got shot in the head, and he fell right in front of me. So I tried to When I did that, my phone and my keys flew out my pocket and flew under somebody's car. And like I said, I ran to the other way. Then bullets, people started dropping that way, so I turned and started crawling, trying to go the other way. But then people started falling that way, so I thought I was about to die to the officer. He was like standing over the top of me, like, and he started shooting at the guy. So he saved everybody that was out here.
And where exactly was that?
Right here in front of Ned Peppers.
My goodness. Well, we are so glad that you are safe, and that you were able to get away. Obviously, it's an extremely tragic night for so many people. Why are you still down here?
Because, like I say, when I was running from the guy, my keys and my phone fell, and so I can't call nobody to come get me, and I can't go to my car because the police got everything blocked off, and they won't let us get our property. So now I'm just down here stuck. All right, so if anybody's seeing this, you can come pick me up, please. I'm in the Oregon district. Come get me.
All right. Well, Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to share what you went through in that terrifying experience. Thank you. Cheryl?
Molly, what a story from Robert Woodruff there. At least if any of his family members and friends are watching tonight, that they know that he is safe, but you can see that he is shaken by what he witnessed just hours ago in the Oregon district.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very shaken by everything that happened. And right before I was speaking with Robert, I walked up to another group of people to see how they were doing, and they said, not good. And they said, our family member is missing. They said they knew he was down here, but they do not know where their family member is right now. So they're going to the convention center to try to get some more information.
And we also have crews headed to the convention center. We've got Mike Campbell and Kayla Corvell on their way to the convention center, which is sort of a staging area or a place where families can go, or people who need information about their loved ones. If you can't get to the Dayton Convention Center right away, I'm going to give you that number again. It's 225-6217. And Molly, I'm sure there are other people almost walking around zombie-like in shock over what they witnessed, with someone just opening fire and felling people right in front of their eyes.
Right. There are people in this general area, the backside of Ned Peppers right now, and you can see it's a crime scene. It's roped off by police tape. There's some police cars here, and then there are these little yellow signs that are marking where the evidence is. Mm-hmm. And so, a few minutes ago, there were more people in this area, kind of family members. But in the last 15 minutes or so, this area has gotten a lot more quiet, and people have really cleared out.
And, I know we're talking about Ned Peppers as a way to kind of give people an idea of where you are. But this all happened out in the street in the 400 block of East 5th Street. And I believe that is close to Ned Peppers, but outside, and who you just talked to, the witness, confirmed that. He was just walking down the street and suddenly he sees the person, what stays with me about what he said was that he couldn't even see what this person looked like. He was wearing a mask and had a hood pulled up and was dressed in dark clothing, did he say? You see someone who you can't even identify who's shooting at people he apparently doesn't even know.
Right. He said, and he saw the mask that he was wearing, he saw the hood that he had, he saw his gun, and he saw all of the tragedy that this man said happened in front of Ned Pepper's on the 5th Street area out in the street. He said that's where all of this took place.
Okay, Molly, I'm going to let you go get more information. We do have a statement now from Ned Peppers. We're going to show that to our viewers right now, and I'm going to read it. It says, all of our staff is safe, and our hearts go out to everyone involved as we gather information. So that is from Ned Pepper's, the popular tiki bar outside of which this happened. This did not happen inside Ned Pepper's, and we don't know yet if there is a definite connection to Ned Pepper's. If this person had been a patron, we don't have that information yet, but that's the statement from Ned Pepper's, just expressing heartbreak for everyone involved and telling people that their staff are safe. You're looking at the Oregon district now as we get close to the 5 o'clock hour. Less than 4 hours ago, a man with a long gun walked on East 5th Street in downtown Dayton in the Oregon district. And as people were out enjoying the evening, and walking the streets on a beautiful, beautiful late summer night, opened fire on people and just started shooting at them randomly, apparently, and managed to kill 9 people before police shot and killed him. The witness, Molly Cowick, just talked to Robert. He saw and the shooter, and he said that officer saved everybody's lives. We heard from Colonel Carper, the assistant Dayton police chief, earlier. They had a little news conference, he and the deputy Likens, and talked to police officers that they are trained in active shooter situations to respond and to take down the shooter, and that they're very well trained. They train regularly for this. This training changed after Columbine High School. You no longer wait for SWAT or any specialized unit to respond. The police officers themselves who are there on scene have the green light to shoot someone who is shooting innocent people, and that's what they did. They shot and killed the shooter, but not before he took out 9 people, 9 lives, 9 innocent lives, and 16 others are injured and have been sent to area hospitals and are being treated. And our thoughts and prayers are with those people and their families and all the people who are trying to get information. I'm sure at this early hour that there are people just hearing about this, have not heard from their loved one, perhaps, who may have been in the Oregon district last night and not able to reach them. And there is a phone number that those people can call. It is 225-6217. That is a dedicated phone line that the city of Dayton has set up for families to call if anyone needs information about a loved one who they fear may have been a victim in this terrible active shooter situation in Dayton early this morning. They can call that number, 225-6217. You can also go to the Dayton Convention Center. Or people can come to get information, even maybe somebody who witnessed something or think they have information about what happened. You can go to the Dayton Convention Center, or you can call 225-6217 number. Again, recapping, just after 1 a.m., someone opened fire on East 5th Street outside in the Dayton, Oregon district and killed 9 people, injured 16 others before that person was shot and killed by police. There's just been an outpouring of first emergency response there. The place is literally swarming with police officers from multiple jurisdictions. Dayton, of course, but some of the surrounding jurisdictions responded as well. The FBI came to the scene to assist. 21 medic units, we're told, were on hand to the injured, and the triage. And we may never know a motive for this. Sometimes you ask, are there any reasonable motives? How can anyone make sense of an active shooter situation where so many lives are taken for no reason. People who were there to enjoy a night out on the town. And it's a terrible situation for Dayton and an otherwise very safe part of the city. Downtown Dayton in general is a very safe area, very little crime there. And Dayton police were already on patrol there tonight when this happened. And that's one of the reasons they were able to kill the we talked to a witness just a few minutes ago. He appeared traumatized from what he had witnessed. He said that, are down by Omega Records, which is just one of the corners there, and he was heading into the Oregon District. And as he's walking down the street, he first loud gunshots everywhere. Saw people running and screaming. He said he was within 5 to 10 feet of the shooter. He saw the guy he couldn't even identify him, anything about him, because he said the guy was wearing a mask. He had his hood pulled up. Head right in front of him. Fell to the ground. And then he turned and he saw other people being felled by the shooter. And he said an officer came along and stood over and shot. And he gives the officers great credit, said the officers. So unfortunately, 9 people lost their lives. And I go back to what Assistant Dayton Police Chief Matt Carper told us in his news conference a short while ago. He said that this was a very timeline of violence because police were on scene and were to shoot and kill the again before he shot at least 25 people, 9 of whom are dead this morning. Gabby Enright has joined us now. Gabby, this is just a terrible tragedy.
Like so many people, Cheryl, I was waking up and I'm getting these alerts on my phone and I'm in shock. You and I've worked here a very long time. I cannot remember this scale of violence. I spent a lot of my 20s in the Oregon District, like many people, and thinking about what happened there and the amount of people that would be there on a Saturday night, a beautiful Saturday night. I just am in shock like everyone else. And I was making a lot of phone calls because I have relatives that are in their 20s, they're in college. I have friends that have children that are experimenting in the bar scene downtown. They go to nice restaurants down there. There are so many people. This is one of those areas where it doesn't matter if you think you know someone, you're going to know someone. You're going to know someone that was affected by this. I'm getting emails sent to me with videos listening to the gunshot, and it just doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem real for here. I was reading El Paso. I was reading all these places where there have been mass shootings. We've talked about it countless times. And we always say, okay, it's not happened here. And today it did. And so I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around it like you are.
Yeah.
I just can't really do that. Talking with my father just a little bit ago, he's retired Dayton Fire. He's called in to help firefighters, help victims, help.
Yeah, I don't have
police officers
cable either.
Do what they do, the debrief, which we often talk about because what they see is so traumatic.
Right.
And they're
Hi,
trained to do
wonderful.
this,
Hi, everybody.
after you step away from it, even like us, it's clinical.
Yeah.
Where's everybody
it's
from?
very emotional. So talking with him, he's been called in, and obviously I'm not privy to the information that's going to be
I got this at the
but he's
fair.
been called in to already talk with people on the police department, the fire department, paramedics, first responders, anybody that is in crisis after this, because
No,
there's
you don't need
after
this. No.
People just
Does
get
that mean
shocked
you're a
doing
Trump
their jobs,
supporter?
but when they really sit down,
Are you a Trump
this
supporter?
is going to be real tough.
It's got to be a terrible thing to witness. And you talk about people in their 20s. Yeah, at this late hour, it's probably mostly young people. But I still go to the Oregon District. We go down there for dinner. Obviously, we don't stay this late. But even the breweries that have popped up and are so popular downtown. So many people living downtown now, not just young people, but people who, are empty nesters now have moved back downtown. And it's such a popular area and a safe area. And to hear this happening right here in our midst, it just, again, it's a cliche, but it can happen anywhere. And for whatever reason, and perhaps we'll never know why this man opened fire tonight, killing 9 people. And you're right, I can't even imagine what it's like to witness people killed and injured and bleeding and hurt, because it's just so awful to even imagine it, but to actually witness it, it's got to be so traumatic for these people. You could see the person that Molly Koch interviewed a while ago, that he was just shaken, that he was traumatized, and it's probably, of course, he'll never forget it. And you talk about, and we've never had anything like this in the city of Dayton or in the Miami Valley. We have not had a mass shooting where we can report 9 people confirmed dead, 16 others injured. In my memory, in 1985, a man named Sammy Moreland opened fire in a home in Dayton and killed 5 family members, including children. But that was in a house, and that was contained, as awful as that was. But for someone to just go down the street, again, on a beautiful summer night, we keep saying that, but it's been one of the most beautiful weekends we can have all year, for people to be out enjoying themselves and patronizing the bars and restaurants in Dayton's Oregon district, and then for this terrible event to unfold. It's just shocking. And I think those of us who work in the news,
I'm going to give you this link. I don't know if you have it,
shocked and sad,
if you know about it, but it's for CNN, free.
Right. And, I've been checking on some of the victims, Cheryl.
Breaking
news.
news.
I've been listening to 9 dead, 10 including the shooter. Also listening to the 16 people that have been treated, and they also said at least 2 were treated and released. So that's some good news in this. She doesn't have any other conditions or more information you can imagine at this point, but just I'm getting these videos, I'm listening to these stories. Driving in today, I looked over to the right as I'm coming in from the Xenia area, and you could just see blue, and that was the Oregon district. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, who's down there that I know? And I start making phone calls, and I'm talking to people, and people are marking themselves safe, and then I'm getting videos from people that were down there, and it's just absolute shock of what's happening. And,
this thing, it's just a web page, so you don't have to
anywhere, and we talk about that.
Subscribe. You just go to this web page.
That is an area that is safe, and police were there.
Trying to do it.
You're listening to that witness talking about
see if it works.
The man that he witnessed doing this, and he has to be in shock. I mean, just absolute shock. Because I think even saying it out loud that 9 people died in the Oregon district, it just doesn't seem.
I find that very difficult, quite honestly, to have to say that there are 9 people confirmed dead. But I'm very happy to hear that of the 16 injured, at least 2 we can happily report have been treated and released. Who knows the extent of their psychological injuries after being through something like this. But Gabby, we'll get back to you.
So where are you from, Sauce?
Amelia Robinson, who works for the Dayton Daily News, Dayton.com, lifestyle reporter now, but Amelia,
I know everything is so expensive.
As a police reporter, and she lives in the Oregon district and heard the gunfire. Amelia, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Cheryl.
Okay, so Amelia, recap. This happened right around 1 o'clock or just after 1. Kind of talk about what you heard and then what you saw.
So we were in our house. We were about 3 streets back from the Oregon district on Green Street. And we heard a series of what to me sounded like shots from automatic weapons. And I was, of course, afraid because, like you said before, I've covered cops for a number of years before I became a lifestyle reporter. We sort of went up our stairs and sort of started calling our neighbors to tell them what was going on. And after that happened, every recorded instinct is to run towards the danger, which is probably not something that most people would think of. But we went to the street, ran into some police officers who all had rifles. They were obviously very high on alert because it was a crazy situation. We looked down the street and we saw these 3 people on the ground. Went around the back of Ned Pepper. There was a collection of shoes. I've never seen as many police officers at one spot in my whole entire life. So we knew it was bad. Talking to people we knew, which kind of illustrated that from the shots they saw. We saw people being carted away. Luckily, those people were alive still. But the very instant we went down there, we knew it was going to be a bad situation where a lot of our fellow Daytonians were gunned down. So it was a very scary situation. And we were, of course, we live in the Oregon District. We love the city.
Yeah.
We go there all the time. And we were just praying for our people we know. But I ran into a bunch of people who said, it doesn't matter if we know them or not. There's life.
My feeling exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very tragic. It's terrible because they are somebody's loved one. All 9 of these people and the 16 injured. Did you say there was a collection of shoes behind Ned Pepper's?
Yeah, there are a collection of shoes. I took a picture of it because it was ridiculously unusual. From what I gather, those must have been shoes for people running away from the scene.
Mm-hmm.
People just lost their shoes because they were so frightened and running away from this gunman. This is a scary situation. It's unbelievable that this happened in our city, in a neighborhood that is safe. We lived here for years, and we've never, like you, I've covered the city.
So have I, and I'm very proud of the city, and I'm very proud of our police department and fire department tonight, as I always am. But yeah, what a tragedy. And this is just not something that you expect anywhere, and certainly not in Dayton and not in the Oregon District, which is a very safe area. There's crime, sure, there are crimes, but nothing to this level, and certainly just, police train for this, but no one ever expects this, and we certainly don't even expect to report it and don't want to, unfortunately.
Right, like you said earlier, I covered crime for a long time before I became a lifestyle reporter. Never had a police officer hug me tonight. That happened tonight. I was doing my job. He was doing his job. Sometimes those things conflict. But he got a little he got a little snippy with me, and I explained why I was there, and he hugged me, and he said, we are all in this together, and it was very powerful. And it illustrates that we are a strong community. And yet again, we're going to have to come together and make that know that we care about these people who have lost their lives and their families.
You're so right about that. There's going to be a lot of coming together after this, because we just can't make sense of someone just opening fire on innocent people who are enjoying their Saturday night in a place where people go, relax after the week. And this is a place where people go to enjoy themselves. And, and I'm just sorry that it happened close to where you live, because I know you love the Oregon District, and I love it too. I've frequented it many, many times.
And I'm going to go back too.
It's one of my favorite places.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's not like it's going to happen again. They killed the guy who did it.
Very sad and shocking, and
that's how I feel.
Words you can use to describe it. Really, there are no
I never really went in that area because there had been a shooting before.
We know that
many years ago, and it's like notorious for
we have good safety forces,
and Aborigine
safety forces who did their job well tonight and are continuing to do it because they're down there investigating, and they're going to do what they can to find out what happened.
I think
here,
it's all connected,
and
it's either a copycat or it's connected.
Something like this.
They both had earphones.
You can't, if someone is determined to shoot innocent people, how much can you do to stop it? But thankfully, the police officers were there. And as they said, it was a very short timeline of violence in which this person did kill 9 people. Amelia Robinson, thanks for joining us. We're going to go now to Newsletter 7's Molly Kowick, who is down in the Oregon District this morning. Molly, what can you tell us now?
We think about the Oregon District as being a place where people come to enjoy their night out. And so I was just speaking with one man who didn't want to go on camera, but he said that he was actually in another bar. And just to kind of paint a picture for you, he said it was tough to hear because, this is a place where people come to have fun. There was a DJ. But he said that he sort of heard some gunshots, and then he heard the DJ say shooter. And that's when people started to run. So you just kind of think about that chaos in a place that you think of as being a safe place to come at night. I want to give you a look right now at what we're seeing. We are behind Ned Pepper's. You can see there are still police officers here. They've got part of the scene roped off with caution tape. And there are officers periodically in this parking lot right here looking for evidence. They're going around with flashlights. And then there are these little plaques marking evidence. So, you can see them right outside of the Ned Pepper's area right now. They're just walking around, patrolling this scene. I'm sure trying to gather any information that they can at this time while they wait to figure out exactly what happened here.
Okay, Molly, thank you. We're going
Yeah,
to go
man.
to Sean Cudahy, who is live at our studios up on the, okay, he's not quite ready yet, but thank you for that, Molly. But here's a tweet from the Dayton Police Department. It says, hashtag Dayton Fire is working to set up a family assistance center at the Dayton Convention Center. As soon as it is staffed and there's a phone number, we will send that information out. We do have a phone number that we have been giving out tonight because the police gave it to us within the hour. It's 225-6217. I'm going to repeat, 937-225-6217. There it is on your screen. This is for anyone to contact if you have a loved one who was in the Oregon District tonight and you've not heard from them. You need information. You can call this line. They're also set up at the Dayton Convention Center. They're calling it a family assistance center there. You can go there to get information. Also, if anybody has information about this shooter who is deceased and can be helpful to the authorities, can also go there or call that number. Very tragic night in Dayton. One thing I've forgotten to mention, I skipped over about the shooter, the witness that Molly Coick talked to a little while ago, Robert. He said that the shooter, he couldn't see what he looked like, said he had a mask, a hood pulled up, and either earmuffs, I think he said, headphones. Someone else said earmuffs, but there was something covering his ear. Of course, the gunfire was very loud. You have to believe this was planned by him for him to be to have his ears covered to protect them from the noise because it was loud. We've heard from witnesses that person, officers who were on patrol already in the Oregon District responded, shot and killed the shooter. That makes number 10. There were 9 innocent victims dead, and the shooter makes number 10. But as Robert, the witness, said, who was within just feet of the shooter, he said the officers saved everybody's lives. Sean Cudahy is in now, and he's on our sky deck, which looks towards the city of Dayton and Miami Valley Hospital. And Sean, you're just joining us. What do you have?
Yeah, Cheryl, we are working to learn a little bit more about how some of the patients, where they're being treated. You can imagine this many patients coming in early in the morning. This is going to put a lot of stress on these trauma centers. We know the level 1 trauma center behind me here at Miami Valley Hospital. We know both Miami Valley Hospital and Kettering Hospital have received a certain number of patients. However, these hospitals so far haven't given us an exact breakdown of how many patients they have. This is certainly a stressful situation for them as you get this large number of patients coming in for treatment here in the middle of the night, here in the early hours of a Sunday morning. So one of the things we're working to figure out is what these hospitals are dealing with this morning. You can also imagine loved ones showing up at these hospitals. So certainly a difficult situation here early on a Sunday morning as both of these hospitals work to treat these victims. We'll keep working to get some more information out here. Sure.
And and I'm sure that hospitals train for mass casualty events too, just as police and fire, the first responders, medics train what to do and where to take these people. And then I'm sure hospitals also train for situations such as this, where they would have a large influx of people wounded, injured, and family members coming there for information.
That's right, Cheryl. And we've covered some of these mass casualty drills before in our region, and this is the type of thing that they're actually preparing for, incorporating not just the police response. I mean, we heard earlier this morning Dayton police talking about how this is a situation that they have trained for. But when you have these training events, the hospitals a lot of time are part of these training exercises because they know that if something like this were to happen, they would have a large number of patients coming in. They know what their protocol is, whether that's calling people in the middle of the night and triaging, trying to get these patients treatment here in the middle of the night. So this is the type of thing that they, along with police and medics that have been a part of this response, have trained for, and certainly they've been put to the test here early this morning.
Okay, and Sean, I'm going to let you go for now, see what you can find out. And we're going to go to Gabrielle Enright in the newsroom because Sean was talking about the hospitals and the numbers of people that they're treating. We know that there were 16 injured. You did give us some specific numbers a few minutes ago about some of the injured being treated by Kettering Health Network at their various hospitals.
Right, and I've been able to confirm just through one of my friends, their son was shot. He is currently in surgery. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for news right now. They just returned from a trip. They were far away. They were in a different country, and they came back and they got a phone call, they said, from Kettering. So we know that at least one of those people is the son of some people that I know, and they're still waiting to find out. Speaking generically, I don't want to give anyone's privacy away, but they're still waiting for word. They're also looking to find out for information about the people that he was with. So when we talked with Liz Long earlier, she had confirmed with us. Liz Long is the spokesperson for Kettering Health Network. She said that they had 9 victims across 3 different hospitals. She was not very specific about that because, as you can imagine,
Well, Grandview is closer to the Oregon District 2 than Kettering. I mean, they're all fairly close, but Grandview would be probably the closest Kettering Health Network hospital to the Oregon District, wouldn't you say?
Right, I would say so. And they're 3 different, and I'm sure that their trauma centers, their emergency departments, they work together in situations. Hospitals train for this type of thing too. So they likely had a plan. They decided to take people where they needed to go to get the best treatment for their injuries. And we know at least one of them is the son of my friend, and they're still waiting for word, but they're also waiting to get more information about the people that he was with. They were asking me if I've heard anything, and I said, we're still working to get that ourselves. But when we talked with Liz Long, she said there were 9 victims across 3 hospitals, and at least 2 were treated and released. So there was some good news there. But this is the type of situation, too, where even though Dayton police gave us a number of 16 people that were injured, Cheryl, we know that there's likely going to be more where people were just in shock. They didn't even know that they were grazed, or maybe they fell running. Those are the types of injuries, too, that are going to be hard to gauge.
And the long-lasting psychological injuries from something like this.
Absolutely. I had spoken with you a little bit ago, and I was talking about how my dad is on a crisis team, and he responds to first responders that are seeing this. And he's already been called in to help debrief the Dayton Police Department, the fire department. He's retired Dayton Fire. So we're still getting some new information, and we're working to find out more about the victims. But again, I had mentioned this was going to be something where we all knew someone. And I was just checking my Facebook feed, getting some new information, posting the latest information from both Monica and Molly, who are at the scene right now. And I looked at the feed, and that's how I've been communicating with the parents right now. So
yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about your friend's son. He's in.
Yeah, I'm glad your mom is all right.
They said that they're still waiting for
that's
word.
horrible.
They were optimistic with the injury that he had received. And again, I'm not going into specifics because we wouldn't do that for anyone at this point. But they were waiting for word. They were very concerned about him, as you can imagine. But they're also very concerned about the people that he was with, because in that chaotic situation.
Do you think it's connected to what happened in Texas?
They're not sure if his
I
friend
think it is.
And so they're
it could be copycat, but I think that it's bigger.
Yeah, it's Thanks, Gabby. We'll keep your friend's son in our thoughts and everybody. I can't imagine you're coming back from a trip out of the country and you find out your son has been shot.
I think this is a fan. I don't know what it is. I think it's a fan.
The place that he goes
I got it at the fair today.
Unwind after a long week of working or going to school, and that's what a lot of people do. Go down there and enjoy themselves, and a great night, and just walking along, and maybe visiting a bar, just walking along with friends, and then somebody comes along and opens fire. It's just unbelievable to me. This happened. I'm going to recap now, just for those of you joining us, because I realize it's 5:15 now. We've been on the air since around 4 o'clock, but actually before that, Monica Castro was on live not long after this active shooter.
But I remember that area. There's always been like somebody being shot or something. Like I don't go there. I go on 3rd Street, so I don't really hang out in the Oregon District. I love Tie 9. I'll go eat there, but I never really hung out in the Oregon District.
Not inside Ned Peppers, and opened fire on.
I was always on like the next block over.
The shooting happened outside. There were 9 confirmed dead now, 16 injured. We do know at least 2 have been treated and released. And there's a family assistance center at the Dayton Convention Center. If you know someone who was in the Oregon District tonight, you haven't heard from them, not been able to contact them, you can go to the Dayton Convention Center, or you can call the tip line, which is dedicated for this. It is 225-6217. Newsletter 7's Coic is also in the Oregon District right now.
Yeah.
Molly, what's the latest from you?
Yeah, well, right now where we are, it's pretty quiet. People are waking up, they're starting their day, and they keep coming up to me and saying, what happened? And then the look on their face when I tell them there was an active shooter situation, 9 people are dead. Everyone's jaw is just dropping out of their mouth, because it seems so shocking to happen in a place like this, but that's the reaction that we're getting. I'm going to let you know where we are right now. We're on the backside of Ned Pepper's. I spoke with a gentleman earlier who says that this all happened on 5th Street, kind of right behind the buildings or right in front of the buildings you're seeing right now, excuse me. He described the situation. He said that he was 5-10 feet from the shooter, and that the shooter was wearing dark clothing, had a hood, had a mask, and he was just shooting to kill. And this man was just running away, like so many other people.
I usually hang out on 3rd Street, and like I'm still gonna go. I'm not gonna let this stop me.
You can see right now there are still
it's like a once in a lifetime thing. We don't know what it is yet.
Looking for evidence. The scene is very secure right now.
I don't know.
Caution tape up. Police
there's
cars
something
still here.
Big to it. It's something
then
deep. I don't
every so
understand
often
it.
Someone is trickling out who maybe was here this evening and is just leaving and starting to go home
I think
now.
there's a connection.
You know, and you talk about the haunting scene that man you talked to saw. She says
exactly. You got to keep living your life. I say this all the time. I'd rather be shot in the back in Dayton at 2 p.m. than to be scared in my house.
So the man you talked to, Robert, couldn't even get home until he found his keys, but he
Bailey.
He didn't have a phone either. So
I agree.
That's a situation where
I don't know what they're trying to scare us into.
And can't contact
you know what I just thought?
To say, hey, I'm okay, but Robert Woodruff, he is okay.
And you see my Democratic thing. Maybe there's some plan to scare people so that everybody will vote for Trump again.
Can you tell, other than the police presence there, and
because he'll come up with something that I'll make you safe, I'll keep you safe, just vote me in again.
Tonight? I mean, is there?
Sorry, it's not going to work for me.
Is there a smell in the air of gunfire, or what is it like to be
if I was just standing here in the Oregon District, looking away from the scene like I am right now, just looking at the camera, it wouldn't appear any different. You don't smell anything, but then you turn around and you see that this is clearly no ordinary night for the people who are down here and what they're dealing with. It's not normal to have this massive police presence that we're seeing on this scene, and then also the scene where Monica Castro is. So clearly a very, very serious situation here. I spoke with a family when I first got on scene earlier this morning, and I said, how are you guys doing? And they just said, not good. And they were talking about how their loved one is missing. So they were going to the convention center to try to track down their loved one. And they were so nervous about the circumstance and where their loved one
This
might
is my
be.
prediction.
Okay.
Years from now, we're going to find out he had something to do with it. Ginning these people up and setting them, to do this.
What have you got?
Because he can see that he's going to lose.
Well,
I just took care of my underwear under the bed.
Talked to us earlier. They said that they
no wonder I don't have any underwear.
All night, I'm sure, trying to gather some of that evidence that is left from that shooting scene. But a lot of the police that were out in this area, 5th and Wayne, have left. So there's not as many police officers out here, but there are still some that are here. Like I said, we've seen a bunch of them walking around, and I'm sure collecting evidence. But when the assistant police chief was briefing us about what exactly happened, he did tell us that this was very unusual for Dayton. This kind of thing just does not happen in Dayton. So I know a lot of people were probably out here, going to bars, going to some of the restaurants out here. So I can't imagine just how many people might have been out when all of this unfolded. I know when I was talking to a woman, like I said, she sat down pretty close to us, and she just looked visibly distraught. She looked shaken. And I went up to her and I asked her, I was like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And she said, we were planning to come down to the Ned Pepper's area in that vicinity to hang out with friends. There was going to be a birthday party. And she said that her cousin was actually one of the victims in that shooting. She just had no words. She was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. I was just, looking at what happened in El Paso. And she was like, I cannot believe that this is happening here in Dayton, Ohio.
Absolutely crazy.
I tried to comfort her as best as I could. But how can you comfort someone who has witnessed something like that.
But you got to keep your head on, though. Like,
and now
this happened once, and it's, we don't know what it is, but you can't let it make you afraid.
So I know police do have the convention center open so that if people were displaced, during all of this chaos, they can go to the convention center and kind of get connected with their family members or even some of their friends. So hopefully also police have some resources out there for people, especially, I know we were talking about witnessing something traumatic. Hopefully they have some of those resources there to kind of help people cope with. Also, police are there, asking for people who witnessed anything, who heard anything, to give them some information. They're trying to piece together what exactly caused this gunman to shoot outside of a bar. I know when police were talking to us, they said at this point they don't have a motive. And so that's one of the things that they will be looking for. I know police plan to possibly talk to us later on today with a little bit more information, but hopefully we can maybe find a motive, and maybe that will help some of these people who were out here tonight find some closure and be able to heal.
Okay, Monica, thank you. And we're talking about 9 innocent people dead. There are 10 dead in all. The 10th is the shooter, who police, who were quickly on scene. They were already in the Oregon district. They responded and shot the shooter, who is dead.
I shot the shooter.
Still trying to determine if there was more than one person, but so far all police have confirmed is that they know there was one shooter, and that person is deceased. You've heard him described. He was wearing dark clothing, had a hood pulled up, wearing a mask, and even headphones or earmuffs. So that person is dead. Been talking about the Family Assistance Center at the Dayton Convention Center. Our Mike Campbell is there now. And Mike, what is the scene like there? I know you just arrived a short while ago. What's going on there?
You're on, go.
Mike. I think he's having a little trouble hearing me. Mike Campbell.
We are at the Dayton Convention Center here on East 5th Street, right across the street from 11th Pavilion. What we can tell you is that the city has tried to set this up as a family assistance center, and right now they are still in the process of actually doing that setup. In fact, I just spoke with some police officers who are making sure that only family members of potential victims are allowed inside. They said right now they do not have a public information officer here just yet to tell us exactly what they're trying to provide for potential victims' families. What we can tell you is that there are some people that have gone inside and into a room here at the convention center that we believe are family members or friends of potential victims. Right now, we haven't had a chance to talk to any of those people. We also have not yet talked, as I mentioned, with anyone from the city about exactly how they're setting this center up, what kind of assistance they'll be trying to provide, whether it's just information, whether it might be counseling services as well. Now, this convention center is on East 5th Street, again, the same street that Oregon District is on. We're about a block and a half west of the Oregon District, and the street, of course, to the Oregon District completely closed down. You can see Dayton police cruisers there blocking all of that off. And again, they are trying to direct people that might come to the Oregon District that are inquiring about potential family members that may or may not have been involved in this shooting to come here and try and provide information. But right here, right now, only potential victims' family members and friends being allowed inside, and the center still kind of being set up and rolled out to exactly what they'll be trying to provide to potential victims' families. So what we can tell you right now is that this is where they would like people to come to try to get either information or assistance when they're asking questions about any family members or friends that may have been involved, may have been a victim in this shooting. And we're going to continue to stay here and monitor, see if we can catch up with some city officials, see if we can talk with any friends or family members that may have been here trying to inquire about their friends or family members that could have been involved, could have been victims, and we will keep you updated on what we learned. But right now, I'm Mike Campbell reporting live at Dayton Convention Center. Let's go back to Cheryl.
Thanks, Mike. We'll check in with you later. And for people who can't get down to the Dayton Convention Center or just waking up, realize maybe you had a loved one who perhaps was in the Oregon District last night and you've not heard from that person and you're worried about their status, not able to contact them. There also always a phone number that you can call. We're putting it up on the screen periodically, but I'm going to give it to you now. It's 937-225-6217. 9 confirmed dead by this active shooter situation in the Oregon District early this morning. And the shooter makes number 10. That person is also dead, shot and killed by police. Sean Cudahy is live with us now. He is, are you still on our Sky Deck, Sean? Or, yeah, there you are. And do you have more information from some of the hospitals in the area?
Yeah, Cheryl, just got some information from Premier Health. I had given you some information from Kettering Health Network a little while ago. So I'm just reading this off right now. So Miami Valley Hospital admitted 3 patients. They discharged 8, and they had 3 in for evaluation. Then at Miami Valley South, so that's their hospital campus down in the Centerville area, they evaluated 1 patient. And then Austin Boulevard Emergency down there in the area near Austin Landing, they evaluated 1 patient. So a number of patients across 3 different Premier Health campuses is what we're hearing. We know 9 victims were treated at 3 Kettering Health Network campuses as well. So as we were talking about a few minutes ago, this is obviously the type of thing these hospitals train for, having to have a lot of different patients come in at a single time across multiple health networks. The numbers we're getting here, most of the patients, as you might imagine, to Miami Valley Hospital, that is the area's main level 1 trauma center right there, and certainly the closest hospital to the Oregon District downtown.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. And we talked to Gabrielle Enright earlier, who, Gabby knows a lot of people, and she said she has friends whose son is one of the victims and is in surgery right now. She didn't want to give us any details about where he is or how old he is or anything like that. And we just want to say that all our thoughts and our prayers are with those who are injured and those who witnessed this terrible tragedy unfold tonight. So, it's just, here it is 5:30 on a Sunday morning in August, and we have to bring you this tragic news of an active shooter in Dayton's Oregon district around 1 a.m. who opened fire right outside Ned Pepper's on East 5th Street and shot and killed 9 people before the police shot and killed him. The police were close by. They describe it as a short timeline of violence, but he did manage to kill 9 people and wound others. We are hearing some good news about people being evaluated, treated, and released, but some have been admitted, and we're trying to get information on their conditions, how seriously hurt they are. Molly Kowick is in the Oregon District. Molly, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Cheryl, we just saw another crime scenes investigation truck pull up. I'm sure there have been investigators in this truck who've been working this scene all morning long. And as you can see, too, there are police officers right in this area, right behind Ned Pepper's. But I want to tell you about what we just saw from up above. We flew Sky 7 over this area right here, and we're working on getting that video to you. But what we saw is just a massive, massive police presence. And a very active scene right now. And the photographer I'm working with today, who has a lot of experience covering mass casualty situations, instantly pointed out, and he said, that's the coroner right there. So that gives you a little bit more of a perspective about what's going on right where that shooting happened.
Mm-hmm. Who is your videographer? Who's with you this morning?
Yeah, I'm with Jared today.
Okay, yeah, Jared. The point I'm making by asking you, we've all covered shootings, we've covered tragedies, but when you have, apparently, it has to be senseless. I'm going to just call it like it is. It's a senseless shooting where someone opened fire and shot and killed 9 innocent people, and shot more than that, killed 9, injured 16 others, traumatized countless others. There are families who are just waking up and seeing this news. It's 5:30 in the morning, and wondering if their loved one is perhaps one of the victims, trying to get information. The city of Dayton has set up a family assistance center. We have Mike Campbell there. We'll go back to him shortly. But the number to call if you can't get down to the Dayton Convention Center for information, we're putting that on our screen again. It's 225-56217. I'm going to recap again. I feel like a lot of people are probably starting to wake up at this hour and are just hearing this news. Around 1 a.m., a person carrying a long gun walked down East 5th Street in downtown Dayton's Oregon District and opened fire. It was a chaotic scene, people running, people falling. Police were already on patrol from Dayton Police Department, as they always are. And it was Saturday night, busy Saturday night, beautiful night, a lot of people out. And the police who were close by responded, shot and killed the shooter. And as one witness told Molly a little while ago, the officers saved everybody's lives. But in the aftermath, other police responded, make sure there's not another shooter. We've not heard anything about a possible second suspect. So we're hoping that there was just one shooter and that person is deceased. 21 medic units responded, taking people to the hospital, to different hospitals. We've gotten information on some of them, just very limited information on how many people. We've got 16, but they're spread out. Some have already been treated and released. I think Miami Valley Hospital, Sean Cudahy told us, has admitted 3. That's a level 1 trauma center. Again, we don't know the extent of their injuries or their conditions at this hour, but just a terrible situation unfolding in Dayton's Oregon district early this morning, and people waking up trying to find information. And again, they can call 225-6217, or they can get down to the Dayton Convention Center. It's being set up as a family assistance center to try to get information. If you think you have a family member who's a victim, and maybe I should caution you not to panic if you haven't heard from someone. Robert, who Molly interviewed a short while ago, he was a witness, and in running to get away from the shooter, he lost his phone and his car keys. So, he had no way, A, to call anybody to say, I'm okay, and B, he has no way to get home without his car. So there may be other people in that situation who just, in the heat of the moment, had to run, lost their ability to contact people, lost their car keys, unable to reach family. So, there are situations like that where even if you haven't heard from someone, or maybe they left and, went home and went to bed, and you just haven't been able to contact them. But if you need information about family, you can try to go to the Dayton Convention Center, or you might want to try calling first, 225-6217. Active police presence still. The sun will be coming up shortly. I'm sure police will be there as long as they need to gather evidence. This is a stretch of East 5th Street that goes from Kiowee to, I guess, up to about Jefferson Street, close to the Dayton Convention Center. And it's a popular part of downtown Dayton. The Oregon District has been popular for years, even when the rest of the city wasn't doing as well. The Oregon District has been a bright spot. It's flourished with fine restaurants and bars and places for young and old alike, and middle-aged to go and to enjoy themselves in any night of the week. And Saturday nights, especially a night like this, which is so nice, such a nice night to be out. So many people out in 30, so it was not, super late. But this person Robert, the person that Molly Cohick interviewed a while ago, he said that the shooter, who we have no other information on, but was dressed in dark clothing, had a mask on, hood pulled up, and was either wearing earmuffs or headphones of some sort, apparently, so he wouldn't hear the sound of his own gunfire as he fired that long gun at innocent people who were trying to flee. Just a tragic situation tonight in Dayton's Oregon District, something we hate to report, but we have to, because of the innocent lives lost and those injured, and the countless others who've been traumatized by witnessing this. It's just something that we certainly hate to report. It happened outside of Ned Pepper's. We mentioned Ned Pepper's because Ned Pepper's bar, which is very popular, Tiki Bar, put out a statement saying that all of their staff are safe, and they wanted people to know that, and that their thoughts are with the victims. But this did not happen inside a bar. It all happened on the street externally. And one of the fortunate things, as police told us earlier, when the Assistant Police Chief Matt Carper had a news conference with the Deputy Fire Chief Jeff Likens, he said this was a very short timeline of violence. We can be thankful for that, because the shooter, even still, managed to shoot and kill 9 people in that time, and apparently shoot and wound 16 others. Thankfully, the police were there. They were on patrol. They're trained in active shooter. They have regular training for this type of event. There are personnel on the Dayton Police Department who also travel nationwide to other departments to train for active shooter situations. And there are drills where they train in conjunction with fire and with hospitals for a mass casualty event. So, there's no doubt that the Dayton area first responders pulled together tonight and are still doing their fine work to try to find out all the evidence, to gather what they can, to interview witnesses, even interviewing the officers who were on scene, because they are now witnesses too to what happened, including those who took out the shooter. So it's been a long night already for these first responders and for especially for the victims and the families of victims, and those who are waking up to this news, and those who had a family member or loved one who was affected by this shooting. We know at least 3 have been admitted to Miami Valley Hospital. We know that of 9 taken to various Kettering Health Network hospitals, 2 have been treated and released. That's good news. We're happy to hear that. The psychological impact long term, that's something that that's going to be hard to put any kind of figure on. Newsletter 7's Gabrielle Enright joins us from the newsroom now. Gabby?
People, I've been talking with people. One of their sons is a victim of this shooting. He's in surgery right now at Kettering Medical Center at this point. We've been talking, I'm playing dual roles. I'm friend and I'm also reporter. And so I told them what I'm doing. And they say at this point, they're not getting any updates. They know he's in surgery. He has some internal injuries, but they're just waiting. They were very concerned about the people that he was with. They said that, he was with some people down there. They are trying to get some information for their families as well. They just returned from a trip. They were not even in this country, and they come back to get a call that their son is in surgery. So, you think about the people that saw this. You think about the people trying to find people that were down there. You think about that parent getting that call that their son is in surgery because of what's happened here. And, we've been reflecting about our experiences down there. Cheryl, you were talking about how you just at dinner a couple weeks ago, my friend had a birthday party. We did that pedal wagon that goes through the Oregon District. Mm-hmm. I was right in front of that. We had stopped at a couple of those places for brunch. And, it's a place we've all been. It's a place we all go. And like you said, it's been around a very long time. And it's one of those areas that all you have to do is say the name. Mm-hmm. I was on the anchor desk in the morning with Letitia Perry when the shooting happened in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And I remember the mass shooting there and how the numbers just started growing. And you think the amount of people that do frequent the Oregon District, even at 1 a.m. So as we've been saying multiple times, police down there, we are so lucky that they were down there. Even worse, but and it's not lucky because there's still 9 people that died. I mean, it's even hard now. I've been here a couple hours. I'm starting to get more information. We've been talking with the hospitals, trying to wrap my head around what is happening here, listening to all the information. I'm getting texts from people from across the country that used to work here. Mm-hmm. And this is a top story across the country because of the magnitude of what's happened here. So everyone's saying, I work in Miami now, and I work in Detroit, and places that are larger than this. And we've seen some of the mass shootings in those areas, and it's unbelievable there. And they're messaging me saying, I can't believe this happened, of all places, Dayton, Ohio.
Right. And I think you made a very good point there, Gabby, when you talked about the Las Vegas shooting and close to 60 people dead there. And we have this tragedy of 9 innocent lives lost early this morning. But as the assistant police chief, Matt Carper, told us earlier, he said, quote, as bad as this is, it could have been much, much worse. And how true those words are, because had police not been patrolling the Oregon District, as is their norm on the weekends, especially because of the numbers of people down in the Oregon District, which again, I want to emphasize is a very safe part of the city. Downtown Dayton is very safe. This person, multiple rounds in this long gun is what the assistant police chief told us. So no telling how many dead there could be. Police not been there and not been able to put a stop to this violence and shoot and kill the shooter. As one witness who was fleeing for his own life said, the police officers saved everybody. They do have training for this, and thankfully they do, because as terrible a night as this is, and as 9 innocent victims dead and 16 others injured, and so many others who witnessed this and will have to live with the things that they cannot unsee after witnessing this. The casualties could have been much higher. So we're just very grateful that the Dayton police have this training, and that they and the fire department and medics responded and set up triage and immediately started taking care of those wounded. And what a coming together of our safety forces and our first responders. So great credit to them. News Center 7's Kayla Corbell has gotten to one of our scenes. Kayla, I see flashing. You're at the Dayton Convention Center. Okay, Adam Marshall is joining me now too. But Kayla, you're down the street. I can see the flashing lights. Are you in front of the Dayton Convention Center? Is that where you are?
Yes, the Dayton Convention Center is right here. This is the area where families and friends are being urged to come for information. I was just talking with a police officer in there. They said that none of them really have any information at this point. Obviously, a very, very tense situation. We've seen people coming out crying, some people coming out feeling thankful. So a lot of mixed emotions in this area right now. And then you were just seeing here on 5th Street, this is where it's closed off. So this is about a block west of a block and a half west of the Oregon District, and that's all closed off. Family and friends are able to walk into the convention center, but it's closed off to most traffic right now from both ends. Now, we did just talk with a man who says that he was next to where the shooting happened at Ned Pepper. He said that he hid behind a car. He said one gunman went up to the person who was guarding the door at Ned Pepper. He began shooting, and then a second shooter came up as well. He said one person did take off in a car. So we're working with police now to find out what the situation with that is and how that information is coming about. He said he hid behind a car and stayed there until police were able to come and tell him that it was okay to come out. So we're going to work with police now and find out what we know about that. If there is anyone else, that's what we're working to find out right now. And until then, I'll send it back to you in the studio. Reporting live, Kayla Corbell, News Center 7.
All right, Kayla, thank you. And we do want to mention Kayla's right there in front of the Dayton Convention Center. Dayton Police Department, that's obviously the message they're pushing right now for the family and friends and those affected and those wondering if their family or friends are a victim. So Dayton Police tweeted less than an hour ago that they are in the Oregon District. They are working to set up a family assistance center, as you've been saying, for hours now. And again, once it's staffed, they, like us, are still working to get staff there and have it fully staffed. So please be patient. This, Cheryl, I believe, is a drone footage. This is Sky 7 drone. Again, part of our team coverage this morning. I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
It's rolling. This is over the Oregon District drone video, where you can just kind of get a general view of the Oregon District, where this tragedy unfolded with 9 innocent people shot and killed tonight by a shooter who was also deceased. You can kind of see some of the markers on the ground. It's not very well lit. The sun should be coming up in a little while, so we'll be able to see it better then. But this is just video that, we put our drone up, our Sky 7, and let's take a look. On the top of your screen, okay, there we go. You see police cruisers, a number of them. You see the officers there. Probably mostly officers at this point. I don't think any civilians would still be in the area unless they're being interviewed as witnesses. There are some people standing on the sidewalk. I can't tell if those are officers or not. This happened in the 400 block of East 5th Street, in front of Ned Pepper's, where a person just opened fire outside as people were walking down the street around 1 a.m. and managed to kill 9 people before police shot and killed him. Fortunately, they were close by, and 16 others were taken to hospitals. Adam, as we're looking at this video and talking about this is just something that we never think we're going to have to report on in our own community. You don't really expect it anywhere, but in a place that we know and love and care about so much.
Cheryl, as I started getting these phone calls shortly after this happened and started making my way in. I drive along I-75 on my way here to the station, and I heard you mention it. I was listening live on AM 1290 and News 95.7 WHIO. They're obviously streaming us live as well. So if you're not in front of a television, you can listen there. But what I had to think as I walked out to my vehicle was, what a beautiful night, right?
Yeah.
My children have been outside all day, and as you mentioned, from young to old, this is such a popular place, especially on a Saturday night, whether you're going to get a drink or going to have a nice meal or going to meet friends. And my goodness, just after 1 o'clock this morning, it could not have been more picturesque.
Beautiful night. I thought the same thing last evening. I took the dog out one last time.
Sure.
What a beautiful night.
And think about all of the people that, had it been raining, had it been windy, maybe would have not ventured down there. Obviously a popular place every Saturday night, but just such a wonderful and nice night. I'm sure the crowd was larger than usual, not just the usual large crowd. And then to hear that witness that Molly Koick was speaking with and saying, as he was running and everyone was running, he just watched people being killed around him. You can just begin to imagine the chaos. Again, if you're just joining us, this is Sky 7 drone over the scene. Obviously, this is the Oregon district where this mass shooting happened. As Cheryl has mentioned many times, we have 9 dead. We have 16 injured in addition to the shooter being killed by police within moments of this shooting. And a harrowing scene. Police will be on scene here, I'm sure, for the entire day. One, gathering information, and 2, trying to wrap their minds around what happened, when it happened, and how it happened. It's horrible to see.
Talk to witnesses who unfortunately had to see this and will never be able to get out of their minds after witnessing something so horrific. Sean Cudahy is joining us now, and Sean's been in touch with the hospitals. Sean, what do you have?
That's right, Carol and Adam. I'm here on our Sky deck and pretty thrilled because I actually have a view of Miami Valley Hospital, and we know, the chaotic situation that I'm sure is going on there right now. They've worked to treat a number of these patients. I want to take you back through some of the numbers that we have. And we know that 9 victims were treated at 3 hospitals in the area across the Kettering Health Network. I know that Gabrielle Wright has been talking with a friend who has a loved one that has been in surgery at Kettering Health Network. Grandview Medical Center, obviously going to be the closest one in the Kettering Health Network to downtown Dayton. In the premier Miami Valley.
Are you still here?
We've got 3.
Are you still here?
3 patients admitted,
Janie?
8 patients discharged, and 3 others.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it. I don't know, but yeah. What do you say? Lucifer, whatever, Satan's son, satanic blood salsa sacrifice taking place in the month of August. Okay. Raw God worship for money and power and control over the people. Wake up, folks, your government's lying to you. How is the government, what is the government lying about? I'm not disagreeing with you, but what is the government lying about?
If these 9 victims at Kettering, and then the 14, 15, 16, that would be at Premier Health Network, if that's included in that number. So we'll keep working to get some more context around these numbers, but certainly emergency rooms.
I've been feeling so sick.
This morning.
Like,
this is an early Sunday morning for them as well, obviously. I'm sure
like,
and other staff.
if I've had like chemotherapy, sick, like just really, really fatigued. And now I'm like, I feel my sinuses.
In downtown Dayton this morning.
All right, Sean, we'll check back in here in just a few minutes again.
They're lying to people about their freedom and that they're being slaughtered.
Miami Valley Hospital.
Yeah.
Over his shoulder. If you're just joining us.
Yeah.
We know it's early in the morning. 5:50. This has been going on for several
Also,
hours.
that whole thing, this is what I said, that Epstein thing. I said, why didn't he just have babies with those women? Then they could have, their little whatever they do, with babies. And then what? Next week, that's what it came out. That he wanted to have, babies with these girls so they could start like molesting the babies from birth. I mean, how sick is that?
Dark clothing, hoodie pulled over his face, a mask over his face with a long gun. That's what is being described.
So how many of you are afraid?
Definitely people are looking for.
Wow. So on channel 2, there's not, it's not on channel 2, it's on channel 7, the news.
Kept referencing he. So again, maybe by just the shooter's stature, they believe this was to be a man. At this point, we know that there are a total of 9 dead.
Yeah, I'm not either. Like, I fear no man. Of course, I don't want something to hurt. Like, I don't want to be tortured. You know, I don't want to be in a lot of pain. But whatever. You know, I'm ready. Using Epstein to impeach Trump. I don't know. I think really that Trump is behind this because now he can say, look at all this trouble you have. You know, all these shootings in your towns. Elect me and I'll keep you safe. And he's the one behind it. Also, all of his vitriol, his race baiting. Somebody else said something about how they wanted to. Oh, the guy. I think it was the guy in Texas talked about separating the races, and I actually do think that perhaps we should give it a try. Because I live in like interracial communities. I've never lived in like a totally black community. My family is not totally black. But from the way that I get treated,
from Miami Valley Hospital, live on the line as we speak. And doctor, I apologize if you could just tell us your name again. It's all happening. Is that from Channel 7?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is definitely part of the Civil War. I think too, like that I feel like this. I don't know what race you are, Jake, but I feel like most people, they don't want to deal with black people. And the truth of the matter is, we don't really want to deal with you either, you know. So we'll just kind of go wherever. And, you know, also I think in the Congress, the administration, we need to split and have our own. Yeah, am I pronouncing your name right, Jane? Is it Jane? So I don't know. What would you do, Jane? Where would you go? I was adopted by a black man and a white woman, and they had a child together, and they adopted me. I'm fully black. So I would give it a try living in a totally black, and I date interracially. Martine, are you a girl?
Okay, Dr. Marriott, walk me through the process if you don't mind. You're an emergency physician, you're in the hospital, you get a call about
and actually, to tell you the truth, like, I'm alone most of the time. You know, I'm by myself. And like, there's differences in all people, all races, but I could not go to work or have a boss who treated me like Trump treats his administration. And I don't understand why those people there, why they don't separate. I mean, how many different times can you be insulted because of your race? And like I'm saying, this is all, it's all voluntary, you know. No one needs to come around and collect us. I say, let's like start moving somewhere and just go. Also, what happened in the U.S. is once we were doing our own thing, then the whites would come in and kill us all and take all of, you know, everything that we had.
That gave us the resources to
oh wow. And then again, I feel like the black people in, you know, Congress and whatever, that they're in on it, because they wouldn't be there if they weren't in on it. I mean, my dad was born in 1925. Yeah, 1925. And he couldn't eat inside restaurants. He had to go around the back. Even though his skin is white, it's just insane. I'm glad that I live where I live, because there's still tons of acres where you can buy hundreds of acres, you know, and just live there. you know, and you just be to yourself, you take care of yourself, you don't need to interact with, whatever. The same thing with the police. What people don't realize, you don't have to say a damn word to the police. Nothing. Nothing. If they've got a case against you, let them prove it in court, but you don't give them ammunition. I just can't believe that. You don't have to tell the police your story. I would not. I would not. And when they do that little thing, when they pull you over and they say, "Where are you going?" I just look straight ahead. I don't have to tell you anything. Exactly, never. Because if you say, "Well, I had a blue ball," they'll turn it into, "Yeah, and you threw that red ball through the window." And I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not anti-police, but from what I've seen and in my dealings, the police kill people. Have you guys seen that video where, I think it's in Las Vegas, and there was a man and a woman, and I think the guy had like an air rifle or something and was messing around with it. So anyway, they were both drunk. So the woman is able to come out and, crawl on the floor and be detained. The man, he was so drunk, he was trying to do what they were telling him. But then in the end, there's this, and it's in the hallway of a hotel. The cop just shoots him dead right there on camera. And he's a white guy. The guy who got shot is white. It's just, I can't even say what that does to me. The guy wasn't in danger. He wasn't hurting anyone. He was drunk. The guy's yelling a million instructions, and in the end, he just shoots him. I think that the police have proven that they cannot deal with their gun and their brain, and they can't deal with black people either. So like I'm saying, this is all voluntary, but we can just go our own way and do our own thing. Also, things happen locally. Your own local government has more control over what you can do than anything in Washington. Yep, that's the thing. And they're just afraid just because you're black. That's why I don't want to have anything to do with any policeman ever. Although I have a good history with them, I know how to talk to them,
So thank you for your service again. That was Dr. Randy Marriott. He is an emergency physician at Miami Valley Hospital. He says in total, Miami Valley has treated 6.
Here's the thing too, that people need to learn. Everybody needs to know how to grow their own food, how to can, and how to make clothes. I don't know if you can see this. I'm crocheting a blanket for winter, So what are they going to do with the drones?
Before we go to Mike Campbell, let's take a moment and recap for those who might just be waking up on this Sunday morning. About 5 hours ago.
I think for me personally, the best thing that you could do, I was looking at this orchard. It was over 25 acres. And that may seem crazy. Why is one little black woman going to buy 25 acres? So I have my freedom. I don't have to deal with anybody. I can do my own thing.
Patrolling the Oregon District, which is a busy, popular part of Dayton, especially on the weekend night. Police officers shot.
But like I say, people need to learn how to can, how to grow their own vegetables. You need to know where you can get meat locally and milk, because the grid is going down. We're not going to have this forever. The government can shut the internet down absolutely anytime they want. Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. You should have your own camera too. Record yourself.
A collection of shoes behind Ned Peppers. These were people who fled to get away from this violence and lost their shoes.
That's right, Isaac. I really like that. Yep.
phone number you can call to find out information about loved ones. It is 225.
And it's kind of sad too, because I know a lot of, or I assume that a lot of people who go into law, who are police officers, they really do want to help people, but I think so many of them go into it because they've got an ego, and they want to have a gun and they want to kill somebody. I've just seen too many cases like that. And I think we as the public, we also need to, if you see a traffic stop or if somebody tells you the police pulled me over, go there with a camera and you document. You don't just depend on their camera, body cam, because as we all know, they can drop it, they can turn it off. It's sad. But here's my prediction. What happened in Dayton is going to be connected to Texas, and there's going to be more. There's going to be more. Trying to scare people. And to tell you the truth, I'm ready to go. There's not children. I do not have children that I have to raise. I don't have a husband, a boyfriend, nothing. The woman who adopted me doesn't talk to me, nor her son. So I really don't have much. You know what I mean? I could gladly change places with somebody who seems to have a lot more to live for. So I'm like, whatever. I'm kind of shocked a little bit that Channel 2 is not on live. This is a huge story. And they're showing something about animals or something. Yep, Isaac. Yep. So Isaac, why do people become police officers? Why do they do that? I know that protect and serve themselves. Actually, I'm telling you, where I live, some of them, they're good people. I was with this one guy, an old friend of the family. He was drunk, and he fell down outside in the park in his driveway, and there's no way in the world I could get him up. So I call the police. They come, and together we get him up and put him in bed, and that's it. There was no, they didn't give us any flack. They didn't ask for any ID. I think somewhere else they could have picked him up for, public intoxication or whatever. I've had the police where I live. My little dog got out, and they came to my house, and they're like, "Do you have this little dog?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "We called your mom, and she lives in a totally different city." So the guy went to the police station. He brought my dog, and he said, I gave him some water and a milk bone. So I know there are kind people out there, but I think the majority, they just want to play with guns and F people up. Like I say, I'm so tired. I'm anemic, and I don't have my iron. And I'm supposed to be taking potassium. I don't have that. I think I'm going to get my medicine on Monday. They're going to deliver it. But I just feel awful. Oh, and my knee. I could barely put any pressure on my knee. So I think today, I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to stay in and rest. I've also got bilateral sacroiliitis. And then I think that with the Congress and stuff, they just want their own way, and they want everything done their own way. I was shocked to hear, did you hear this with Bernie Sanders, that he had to fire members of his crew or whatever because he can't afford to pay the $15 an hour minimum wage, and he's the one pushing for it? That has really disappointed me. I liked Bernie, but after hearing that he couldn't even pay his own people what he's advocating, nah. I have to go with Marianne Williams because she's from the same like school of thought and church center that I go to. So I'm with Marianne.
And his keys. And again, under any normal circumstance, if your cell phone were to drop on the ground, especially your keys, you would stop and pick them up. And he ran literally for his life, and people around him are being shot and killed. So those shoes kind of indicate that as well. That literally people were.
Oh my gosh, I'm so I feel so well. I haven't slept actually. That's my problem too. I'm an insomniac. I think I slept a little, but not a lot.
And that witness that you're referring to, Adam, talked about that the police officers saved everybody's lives, other than the nine.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
The shooter unfortunately had time to kill before he himself was killed.
I just can't take it.
When we talk about 9 dead, we're talking about the innocent victims that were held.
I'm so tired. It's not like a sleepy tired. It's like drained, like no energy. I'm like a rag doll. I think it might be the heat too. Now that I'm like older, I'm heat sensitive.
Some people still lingering around. I've noticed that some people were talking to police, possibly giving them, testimonies of maybe what they.
I'm eating pizza, Casanos.
So right now, obviously, police are still on scene, and when the assistant chief did talk to us, he said, they planned on being here all day. I assume gathering evidence, trying to, figure out what exactly led to this shooting, and probably interviewing more of those witnesses. We haven't seen very many people out here anymore. Obviously, it has gotten later and early into this morning. A lot of those people that were lingering around here have since left us. But there are still police out here. Not as many, though, as what we saw when we got here. Gosh, when we got here, let me just tell you, there was police everywhere. I hadn't ever really seen a big police gathering in this area. I know we were talking about how on Saturday night police are already patrolling this area, so maybe you see a couple driving down to these streets, but these streets were packed with not only law enforcement, but we saw first responders out here. They did have a triage area for people, if they were injured, to be able to go to and seek some help. So I know when we also visited with the assistant chief, he did say that 16 people, were injured during this whole shooting. Obviously, a lot of people were probably out here during the time of that shooting. The police are still asking for people to, if they saw anything, heard anything.
The movies we love and the stories behind them. A new CNN
original. Pieces together. I know they mentioned that right now there's still not a motive. That is something that they're investigating. Obviously, we know that gunman is dead. So maybe and hopefully we can get some answers to what motivated him to shoot outside of a bar. I know out here when I arrived on scene, as I mentioned, I did see people lingering around. I saw some people just sitting on the ground, and they looked visibly shaken. They looked distraught. And, for lack of a better word, many of them just looked shocked. Like they just could not believe what was going on. I know earlier this morning, I mentioned I talked to a woman. I saw her just walking down the sidewalk. She sat down next to us, and I just couldn't help but, I noticed that she just looked really sad. I asked her, how she was doing this evening, and she told me that her cousin was actually around the Ned Peppers area. I guess was maybe going to that. Was one of the ones that was shot and killed tonight. So unfortunately, I really couldn't comfort her as best, as I could. But however, someone that has just, got word that they lost their cousin, she was just telling me that, we had just saw what unfolded in El Paso, and how could something like that happen here? So I know a lot of people were out here tonight, and hopefully, as time often mentioned that the convention center is opening up, so hopefully they'll have some resources for people to be able to talk to someone there, even if it's just sharing a little bit of information about what happened. That could potentially help police figure out what was the motive in this whole situation. So I know police said, like I mentioned, they're going to be out here for a long time, still gathering that evidence. I know they also mentioned that they will hopefully have another press conference to give us a little bit more information. For now, we're putting live Monica Castro, News Center 7.
All right, Monica, thank you again. Monica Castro there at the scene of the Oregon district of this mass shooting. If you're just joining us, we have 9 confirmed dead, 16 others, at least 16 others injured. Most of them are gunshot victims. We want to get straight to Molly Cohen. She's on the backside of the Oregon district. And Molly, I can tell you, I was listening on my way in from South Carolina to your interview with the witness.
Look, bro, it's just dead people on the roads everywhere, bro. It's dead people on the road everywhere, bro. It's just a mass shooting down here, bro. Oh God, look at this shit. Bro, it's just groups of dead people on the road, bro. I swear to God, on my kids, bro. Y'all gotta check on y'all peoples, bro. No bullshit. Y'all niggas check on y'all peoples. It's probably like, I can't even, it's just bulks of dead bodies up here, bro. Right, I'm back, look. No cap. There's no rep cap right now. They said it's at least 12 motherfuckers dead right now that they know of. They just all over the street.
And I think there's so many people just asking about enjoying their time. This was a man who was doing.
I got people keep calling me, bro. It's like 12 dead motherfuckers laying in the street right now, bro. It's groups. Mass shooting, bro. Bro, they said it's at least 12 of them.
I saw something like that, so I ain't keep going.
Bro, I heard the shit. Everybody just trampled over everybody.
Again, you can see that there is still a
Shit, bro, they shot at least, bro. It was at least like 40. It was at least like, at least 40, 50 shots going off, bro. There's so many motherfucking dead people, bro.
And so the police have this area pretty well blocked off right now. We saw a driver come in, kind of go past the police car, and police were very, very quick to get that driver out of the area. Molly, thank you for that report. And we are waiting to hear from Mayor Nan Whaley. She's gone into the convention center, which is set up as a family assistance center. Having people who can't get there can call the number 225-6217. That's 225-6217. If you need information perhaps about a loved one who maybe you think was in the Oregon district last night, you've been unable to contact, you may be able to get information by calling that number. Or you could go to the Dayton Convention Center. But while we're waiting to hear from the mayor, she has a tweet.
Correct. I understand Mike Campbell's working to get her live on the air right now. However, as of 4 minutes ago, she did tweet out, and this is from her official page. I'm heartbroken. Thank you to our first responders for all that you've done. We will share updates as we have more information. Now, we do know there is the tweet. Again, that coming in 4 minutes ago. We know Mike Campbell said that she's on scene there at the convention center. She's speaking with families. That, of course, more important than speaking with us at this exact moment. But as soon as we can get her live on air and ask those important questions, we absolutely will. But again, all of this coming together as we speak. It's now been, nearly 5 hours?
5 hours, yeah. And, it's just, she's had some challenges this year for the city. The water issue back in the winter, and then, of course, the tornadoes. But this is something that Mayor Whaley, who's been in office for several years now, has had to experience responding to an active shooter scene, and something that none of us had hoped to ever see in our city. Wayne Baker, one of our
Wayne.
Well, the coroner's van just left, and several families had sort of pushed up to the police tape, wanting to find out as much information as they could. An elderly lady who said her granddaughter she thought was maybe one of the victims, very upset, walked down here with her cane and the gentleman helping her. It was just heartbreaking seeing them. The RV that is adjacent to the Oregon district is sort of a makeshift place of mourning for some families and friends who feel that they've lost loved ones. They're just searching for words, and it is heartbreaking to look at that. And You see the investigators down here just piecing things together still, and it's kind of surreal, actually.
And you feel for that woman who believes her granddaughter was one of the victims. If you're missing a loved one and you believe they were in the Oregon District tonight, you've not been able to contact them, you've not heard from them, and if you fear the worst, I can't imagine the moments of not knowing and the fear that grips you, because you don't know if your loved one was one of those innocent victims who just happened to be in the Oregon District tonight on the street, outside on East 5th Street, beautiful night, and somebody opens fire and starts shooting and killing people. Nine innocent people dead.
Wayne, I do want to ask you quickly. I know you said there's a makeshift gathering there at Arby's. Obviously, the official gathering at the Dayton Convention Center. Are there police officers present at that Arby's? Is this just a crowd of people? And two, are people? Do they seem to be under control, or is this chaos? Understandable chaos. Obviously, again, we have so many victims, more than a dozen injured, 9 dead, and as these people show up to the scene, we understand that if you have a loved one that was in the Oregon District tonight, you don't know if they are alive or not at this point. And if they are alive, at that point, you don't know where they were sent. We've got 6 or 7 hospitals involved, obviously most going to Kettering Health Network, one of 3 hospitals there, and then the Miami Valley treating more than a dozen as well. So just quickly, and then we will get to Mike Campbell, who I believe has the mayor with him. But quickly, is it chaos there at Arby's, or are there police on scene?
Well, you guys both painted the picture perfectly. It is sort of a controlled chaos. You have a couple of people holding their babies, sort of collapsing on the ground because they feel that they've lost their loved one. And it was a birthday party, as I understand it, supposed to be a night of celebration that has turned into a night of terror and the loss of life. Yeah. But it is controlled down there. There are police there, and it's really just hugging and sobbing and just trying to prop each other up as they prepare to, get the official bad news in their estimation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're fearing.
Again, Wayne Baker from the Dayton Daily News. Wayne, thank you so much. We'll be checking in here in just a few minutes.
And you mentioned birthday party. Monica Castro had talked to a woman earlier who'd been attending a birthday party down there, and she was sitting on the curb very distraught because her cousin was shot and killed by this shooter tonight. Kayla Corbell is also outside the Dayton Convention Center, and I know you've been talking to people. What have you learned in the last few minutes, Kayla?
Cheryl, we have a lot of people coming up to us asking what we know. They said inside the convention center here, this is where family and friends of victims are told to come to get information. You can see a lot of people gathering. These are all people who believe that they have a loved one who was involved in this shooting, a victim of this shooting. And right now, they are just waiting for information. We did see the mayor go in there. She told us she would come back out and talk to us. That was about 30 minutes ago. We have not seen her since. We did see some therapy animals come in from the Clark County area. They were going in, and if you take a look, there is an ambulance here. They went inside with a stretcher, so someone maybe had some type of medical episode inside the convention center right now. We're looking to learn more about that too. And I was talking with some of the family members that are here of some of the victims, and I asked them, what's going on in there. They said they're just sitting and waiting. They don't know where their family members were taken to. They don't know what condition they're in. They can't even call hospitals to find out any information. So obviously a very tense situation. We've been trying to get some information from them, but right now it's just a meeting place. It's where they're going, and as soon as more information comes in, they're able to come here and get that information. But you can see there is a lot of people out here right now. They're just waiting as of yet. And they did take that stretcher in there from the ambulance. So we're working to find out what the situation with that is right now. We are still waiting for the mayor to come out too. She said she'd be out soon. So as soon as she comes out and is able to talk to us, we'll bring that to you live right here. Until that, reporting live, Kayla Corbell, News Center 7.
Thank you, Kayla. One thing Wayne Baker said a couple of minutes ago when he was talking about the Arby's, which is on the north end of the Oregon District, very close, and it's become sort of an unofficial makeshift area for people to gather and hug each other. And he said, as they are, quote, waiting to get the official bad news.
Yeah.
So these are people fearing the worst. And you even wonder if that ambulance there are people just fainting from the sheer stress and anxiety of waiting to hear on their loved ones. I can't imagine what these people are going through.
That's what we were just discussing there as Kayla was speaking was I'm sure that will not be the last time they have to take a stretcher in there either this morning or throughout the day. The bottom line is these people are showing up and they don't know. They don't know if their loved one or friends or family or one of the dead, one of the injured. Lord willing, most are not. And as we heard from one of the witnesses there, he ran and lost his cell phone and his keys. And by no means in that situation would anyone literally running for their life go back to gather that. We saw the pile of shoes moments ago, people running out of their shoes as they run for their lives. And again, hopefully.
So the point is, there may be people accounted for who just have not been able to contact their family because of that, of a similar situation. Gabrielle Enright told us that she has friends whose son was down there, was shot, and is in surgery. Gabrielle, standing by in the newsroom, and have you gotten any word on your friend's son or any new information on other injured people, Gabby?
They're still waiting for information. They are at one of those hospitals. Their son is in their 20s, and you were talking about getting that call or waiting for that news. Well, my friends, they were actually on vacation. They just came back. They were in another country. They've been looking forward to this trip, and they said they got a call that their son was in surgery at Kettering Medical Center. So he has some internal injuries. They were waiting for an update, but just imagine getting that call. I mean, I can't even imagine what those people are going through. You've been talking about that pile of shoes, and that is one of the most poignant pictures that I've seen so far. It really does show you just do what you can in that type of situation. I was doing some research. We've covered a lot of stories about what you do in an active shooter situation. And the U.S. Department of Homeland Security actually put something out that says you run, you hide, you fight. And that's part of what we often call the ALICE training that Dayton Fire, police, local authorities, they go through. And they talk about, the first thing they do is say, have an escape route and leave your belongings behind, keep your hands visible, things like that. They actually have information out there, and you look at those shoes and you see what happened. But my friends, again, I've been in contact with them. I'm playing the dual role of a friend, but also reporter. We wouldn't release any information without their permission. But again, I can tell you that their son, they were very concerned, not only for him, but also because he was with friends, and they do not know whether or not the friends were hit by gunfire, whether or not they were injured as they were running away. So I gave them the number of that hotline to help their families work to get some information on that. So as we're going through this, I had mentioned when I first got there, and Cheryl, you and I were talking, I said it's only a matter of time before this will affect everyone. And I meant that. I looked through the feed, and that's when I started my Facebook feed, and I started seeing how many people I knew that were down there. Cornelius Froelich, he works for the Dayton Daily News. He posted just a few minutes ago, and I retweeted it. He was supposed to meet in front of Ned Peppers tonight. He was actually in the Oregon District with some friends, and he posted that. And I thought to myself, there's a lot of people that are going to be like that. They were just down there. They missed it by moments. Maybe they were supposed to go and something came up. So there's going to, be a lot of people wondering what would have been and what could have been when a matter of minutes is making all the difference.
And thinking they're lucky stars that they were not there when the shooter opened fire. Some of the video we were just looking at was video from earlier of the police response, and you're seeing, just look at the sheer numbers of first responders who went to the Oregon District tonight after this shooting, which happened about 1:22 a.m. is what I'm hearing is the official time that this shooter opened fire, more than an hour before bars typically close.
Absolutely, and as we all know, the Oregon District, especially on a Saturday night, and my goodness, especially on a beautiful Saturday night, a very busy place from young to old. We said if there's one small blessing about where this actual location was, it's the fact that Dayton police are always in that area. And as we heard from witnesses, they were able to act very quickly. But again, not before 9 people were killed. dozens others shot and injured, now scattered across hospitals in the Miami Valley. We are being told that Mike Campbell, once again, is live outside of the Dayton Convention Center. And Mike, I know you're there with Kayla as well, as families are starting to show up. Mike, can you just give us an update if you have a moment, please?
I can hear you. Yes, I can. I'm on IP3. I can hear you.
Mike, if you're there, I know that you
are.
I'm not sure if you can hear us, Adam, and
yes, Adam.
In the studio. Okay,
what
go
I
ahead.
can tell you is that more and more families continue. Okay, so Cheryl, like what I can tell you is that more and more families continue to show up here at the convention center. They are going into a room that's off to the left here. And of course, the convention center is here on East 5th Street, for those of you not familiar with downtown. And it's actually only about a block and a half west of the entrance to the Oregon District where this shooting took place. But probably in the last hour, we've seen a good 3 dozen families show up. When we first got here at around 4:30, there was probably only about a handful of people here. Now there are dozens of people here, family members, friends of potential victims. And many of them in the last few minutes have been coming up to us asking what we know, because they're still waiting to get word about their family members, more exact information that they still don't have. But we can tell you that over the last hour, a number of city officials have actually arrived here as well. They're getting this disaster assistance center kind of set up a little bit more, what kind of services they might be offering, whether it would be just the information, also maybe some counseling. We've seen emergency management workers from several surrounding counties, including Clark County. One Clark County emergency management worker actually brought a therapy dog in and went inside, anything to try to make family members and friends a little bit more comfortable as they try to process through any news that they may get. Obviously, some of them will have had friends or family members that may have been killed in this horrific shooting. Others may find out that their family members are okay or have other injuries. So again, they're doing what they can to try and comfort those families. We can also tell you that the mayor is here. Mayor Nan Whaley got here probably about 30 to 40 minutes ago, and I just spoke with a city official who told me the mayor does plan to give us a briefing sometime around 7 this morning, so about 35 minutes from now. Of course, we will bring that to you when that happens.
I'm going to close it down, but I'm going to come back because I don't want this file to be too long. Thanks for watching.